I call this meeting of the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is now 6 o'clock. Roll call.
All board members are present except for Ms. Dreisbach.
Thank you very much. She did call and notify us that she had prior arrangements. Dr. Gibson, recognition of students.
Thank you, President Westbrook, and welcome everyone, community members, staff, students, parents. Now I started on the list, and everyone else that's here tonight. So welcome, and we're glad you're here. At the first of every single meeting, we like to take a few minutes to do some recognition and to honor some of our student leaders throughout the district. So tonight, we're excited to have Cole Mazel, a second grader at Schertz Elementary School, here with his principal, Jerry Pope. Ms. Pope's not leading the pledge. She's going to talk about Cole, who is leading the pledge. So, Ms. Pope.
Good evening, members of the board, President Westbrook, and Superintendent Dr. Gibson. I'm Jerry Pope. I'm the proud principal of Schertz Elementary. I'd like to introduce you to Cole Mazel, a second grader at Schertz Elementary. Cole has demonstrated academic commitment in all he does at Schertz Elementary, especially to his GT coursework. Cole leads others by staying engaged, persevering, and demonstrating initiative and taking charge when he needs to. Cole is a great example of a future-ready student. Cole actively researches and develops theories. In fact, this evening, Cole developed a theory he needed his own tuxedo for tonight, and you can see he and Mom agreed upon this good-looking tie here instead. Cole is currently developing theories and researching topics related to his 3 career considerations. The first one being developing magnetic hoverboards. The second one being developing teleportation. And the last one being finding a cure for cancer. Cole is joined here by his 2 teachers, Mr. Cortez and Ms. Rangel. If you could please stand or say hello. He is also joined here by his 2 parents, Mr. and Mrs. Mizell, and his brother, Kate. Okay, we're just going to start the recognition.
Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I always say that when students like Cole and some of the recognitions that are going to be going on tonight, it's sort of an accumulation of the hard work of the parents. And if you're a parent, stand up. Where are all the parents at? Proud parents. There we go. Thank you very much. You know, the hard work between the parents, the teachers, and the staff and everybody in the school board. So thank you very much for all the hard work and collaboration. And the students here, I would define them as leaders. And leaders are probably, I think a quote once said that, hey, if you do more than what is asked of you. And so thank you for all the students and the hard works and the parents. And before I close out the presentation, I would like to just give a quick note that there was one leader. It's her last meeting here. She's done an excellent, a fantastic, wonderful, amazing job as a financial officer for this school district. She's done more than she's ever been asked, and she's been a great leader and kept a great financial state of affairs. And for everything you've ever done, thank you very much, Paige. I do appreciate it.
And she loves public recognition.
Our vice president is gone, so we'll skip the vice president's recitation of mission, vision, values, but we will go to the board recitation of district belief statements.
We believe all students have the capacity to learn and excel, and we believe a safe, secure, and supportive environment is.
We believe living our core values of leadership, character, commitment, service, and learning. We believe engaging, interactive, and authentic teaching creates empowered, inspired learners prepared for our changing world.
We believe today technology is a relevant tool that enhances learning in and beyond the classroom. We believe in the professional learning community, PLC, that fosters collaboration for continuous improvement.
We believe transparent, clear, and timely communication among all is critical to success.
We believe measures of success go beyond standardized testing, and we believe public education is defined by the local community with limited state involvement.
Thank you very much. Dr. Gibson, recognition of the student representatives for the month of March.
Thank you, President Westbrook. And guess it's always my honor to kind of kick off the meat of the meeting with recognition of our 2 high school students from our 2 traditional high schools. These students are the epitome of our traits of a graduate: dynamic leader, self-motivated, skilled communicator, service-oriented, and future-ready. So tonight it's my honor to welcome Madison St. John, a 12th grader from Clemens High School, and she might be representing FFA, I'm just saying, and Gabriela Cruz Matos, 12th grader from Steele High School. Ladies, if you will, meet your administrators down at the podium, and we look forward to hearing from you tonight. Let's give them a round of applause.
Let's try this again. Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and members of the board. It is my distinct honor tonight to introduce to y'all Madison St. John, a very well-rounded senior at Samuel Clemens High School. Madison is representing the Cibolo Creek FFA program. Madison's parents are here tonight, and her sister, Mr. and Mrs. St. John. And Rebecca, will you please stand and be recognized? Also joining us tonight is Mr. Adam Lampman, Clemens FFA sponsor and CT teacher. Mr. Lampman, thank you for all the hours that you put in to ensure that our students are well prepared. Madison has attended SCUC schools since her kinder year, and has been her passion, and agriculture has been her passion since then. She has dedicated herself to racing several animals along the way, and most recently has been involved in chapter conducting. As if FFA did not keep her busy enough, Maddie has been an athletic trainer for the past 3 years, and she's also employed at Whitewater Amphitheater. Academically, Madison is a very strong student. She currently has a GPA of an 86.6. Without further ado, Miss Madison St. John.
Good evening, Dr. Gibson, Mr. Westbrook, and members of the school board. Thank you for recognizing me in Cibolo Creek FFA. I've been a part of Cibolo Creek FFA for 10 years now and raised steers, pigs, turkeys, chickens, and rabbits. I have personally spent countless hours in and out of my high school's agriculture classroom with my FFA, participating in major livestock shows across Texas and competing in career and leadership development events such as Green Hand Quiz, FFA Skills, livestock judging, and the floriculture evaluation team. These events have taught me things from leadership to dedication and even time management. All these skills I've learned from such an amazing organization are skills I can use in my future endeavors. Caring for animals has persuaded me to pursue a career in nursing. I plan on completing my core classes at Northeast Lakeview and from there transfer to UT Health Science Center in San Antonio to complete my master's in nursing and finish with getting my family nurse practitioner degree. Caring for others is something I've always dreamed of doing, and thanks to my FFA experiences, I've learned things I can carry with me forever. Thank you for your time in recognizing me and my FFA program.
Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and members of the board. It is my privilege to introduce Gabriella. She is a senior here at Still High School and has been part of the SCUCISD for 8 years. She is here with her parents, Luis Cruz Carrasquillo, yes, and Tamara Cruz Matos, if they could stand and be recognized. And she is representing our student council and our student council officer, president, and then her advisor, Courtney Matthews, is here. And she's also our dual credit teacher. So she gets to see Gabby and her beautiful smile a lot. She is the vice president. So as you see, she is the president of student council, but she's also the vice president of National Honor Society. She's the community chair for future healthcare professionals, which we call HOSA, and the senior class reporter. Gabby definitely shows the traits of being a dynamic leader. She shows she is service-oriented by performing over 100 hours of community service and has participated and run community service events. Gabby is also a student representative in Knights of the Round Table. She was part of the dance team for 2 years and was awarded Most Improved Dancer. She has received her certification as a medical assistant and is now pursuing the certification as a nursing assistant. She hopes to attend Georgetown University in the fall, and she's going to major in global health. Her goal is to attend medical school to pursue a career as a doctor. And as you can see, Gabriella is a student that incorporates all the traits of a graduate.
Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and the members of the board. Student Council is a community service and leadership organization, and its purpose is to give a voice to students. Student Council has definitely helped me to find my voice. I started as a member my freshman year, helping with and attending every meeting, event, student service project, and fundraiser. I learned to be a contributing member of the team, use my voice, and develop my leadership skills. In my sophomore year, I ran for and became the Energy and Environment Chair. I worked alongside an all-upperclassmen officer group. I was placed in situations where I had to step out of my comfort zone and take the lead. For example, on the first day of our winter retreat of my sophomore year, all 12 of us officers had 2 fingers on a fishing pole. We were supposed to get the fishing pole on the ground while staying even. This was a team-building exercise. It was harder than we expected and resulted in everyone arguing. There was no end to the discussion in sight. I realized that sometimes we need to stand up and step down and step aside. So I motivated our team to work together and accomplish the goal. To this day, I will always remember that moment as the start to becoming the leader I hope to be. As a junior, I became vice president. I learned the responsibilities of being second hand to our president and sponsor. I became able to run our community service events along with participate as a leader to other members at conferences and retreats. I gave many speeches throughout the years, always working towards overcoming my fear of public speaking, like I am now. I even gave a speech to 6,000 people at the Texas Association of Student Council State Conference last year. It was a nerve-wracking and liberating experience I will never forget, though this might be just as nerve-wracking. I'm now a senior and the president of Student Council, and I take pride knowing students look to me to lead. This means more than I can describe. I believe I've become the leader I once looked up to. Being the leader of an organization that gives a voice to everyone and instills confidence is one of the most fulfilling things I've done in high school. Student Council hosts and participates in many community service projects. These include freshman orientation, homecoming, fall festival, mother-son, daddy-daughter dance, mix-it-up day, and 5 blood drives throughout the year, including the one we put on today, which went fantastic if I may say so myself. Freshman orientation is so we can create an atmosphere of safety, inclusiveness, and acceptance before the school year has started. Homecoming and Mix It Up Day are 2 events that we put on for the enjoyment of students and our fundraisers that we give back to the community. Though Daddy-Daughter Dance is our biggest fundraiser, plus it's my favorite event, the kids are just too cute. We give the money to a good cause. This usually includes a local organization. Student Council isn't just about students, but about our community. We host these events to bring the students and the community together. I'm a part of many clubs at my high school, and I love being a part of each of them, but I have never felt more love for an organization than I do for Student Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my love for Student Council.
Much like the members of the Cibolo Creek FFA and the City Council have to work together, the Church-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District also has to work together with some community partners. Tonight, we salute partners who help Church-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District, a destination school district. First guest is from Northeast Lakeview College. We welcome Dr. Veronica Garcia, president of Northeast Lakeview College. Since her appointment in 2017, the Northeast Lakeview College has received accreditation and continues to expand its offerings to students in Northeast San Antonio and its surrounding communities, including Church-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District. Northeast Lakeview College provides dual credit, tech prep, and job certification programs for our district and for our students. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you. So I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees, Dr. Gibson, parents, students for allowing me this privilege to spend a few minutes with you. And definitely, Cole, when you get that transporter going, call me. I have the honor of serving as a president at Northeast Lakeview College, and I'm reintroducing, people don't realize we have 267 acres right down the street, and we have a beautiful college, and we have the honor of working with Dr. Gibson and the Church-Cibolo Universal City ISDs on helping students enroll at Northeast Lakeview and getting them through the admissions process, the financial aid process, and being successful here. But one of the things you might not realize is that we are the best in the nation. And how can I say that? I can say that because we were just recognized by the Malcolm Baldrige for receiving the best in the nation, #1 community college, along with the Alamo District in the entire United States. And that is a big privilege. Yes. And we couldn't have done that without, the supporters of our local school districts of coming in. They send a team out to see, do we walk the talk? Do we have the academic rigor? Do we have the metrics? Are our students successful? And you may not realize, but the top five feeder schools, one is Steele and the other is Clemens. So your students are coming to a very good place. And we just want you to know that we're very privileged to have your students, that it's our honor, and we do our best to make sure that not only do they graduate with a high quality education, but they do not take any excess credit hours, that they move through the system very quickly, and if they want to transfer, they transfer with all credits that are transferable. So we don't waste any time with your students. So Madison, you're in a good place. I'm just letting you know. If you need anything, you give me a call. So with that, I just want to say I'm grateful for our relationship and your leadership team. You have a very strong leadership team. We enjoy working with them. We meet them 4 times a year, and it's a pleasure, and we hope that we will continue to be a good partner for you. So just give us a call if you need anything. We're here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Also this evening, we are privileged to welcome Jason Barger, president of the Randolph Metrocom Rotary Club, one of our district collaborators. The Rotary Club is a network of 1.2 million neighbors throughout the world, united people to create lasting change across the globe and in our communities. The local chapter provides supplies, including books and scholarships for our students. Mr. Barger is also joined this evening by Dan Murphy, president of the Greater Randolph Area Partners in Education. Thank you for being a wonderful part of our relationship built upon district core values. Thank you.
President Westbrook, Dr. Gibson, and members of the DICE, I appreciate you letting us come up here and say a few words. As you know, I'm the president of the Randolph Metrocom Rotary Club. Rotary is an international organization, but our club focuses very strongly on our community and what we can do for the youth of our community. We have created a new foundation to raise money for scholarships based on merit-based actions of the students of this area, and we're looking forward to building and growing on that. The second thing that we continue to do is sponsor and work for a foundation called the Partners in Education Foundation. And Mr. Murphy is the president of that, and I'll let him address that and tell you what that does.
Thanks, Jason. It's called the Greater Randolph Area Partners in Education Foundation, but everybody knows this as PI. We're a 501c3. We exist for one purpose, and that is to provide educational financial assistance to needy students in this school district, Judson, and Marion. With this school district this year, we've allocated $10,500 for the voucher and CTE programs, and additional $9,000 for scholarships. We're doing something different with this district than we do with the others. Y'all do an annual coat drive, and this year, as in years past, our treasurer David Sipple had the opportunity to go to Burlington Coat Factory with Raquel Rodriguez, and he said it was a great experience, not near as bad as shopping with his wife, but he said that it was good because we got a quantity discount and no tax, and we ended up donating about $700 along with Raquel for the needy kids to have coats. Speaking of Raquel, she's wonderful. She's our district representative here, and she does a lot of work. If we get a voucher or any kind of request for assistance from Raquel, we approve it because we know it's going to be right. We can't say that for everybody else involved in the program, but she is a superstar for us. One other thing, to help us raise money, we do a golf tournament with the Rotary Club, and all of the proceeds for that golf tournament go to the Partners in Education Foundation. So we encourage you all to help us out on the 16th of September. And I provided everybody with a handout that explains the process and some of the details instead of going through all that. So if you have any questions, Ed knows how to contact us, and we're glad to help you all out. And we have a ton of money, and we'd rather spend it than leave it in the Shirts Bank. Thanks.
And I apologize. One thing I forgot to mention, whenever we have a speaker come and speak to our meeting, we donate a book in their honor to a local school library. We brought a couple of them. Sometimes we use the Dave Ramsey. Sometimes we use the Dr. Seuss's. We have a nice collection. We brought a lot of those tonight to be distributed to the school district's library. So we thank you for your time and your recognition of us today.
Thank you very much. I might check out that Dave Ramsey one right quick. You know what I mean? I listened to him today, so thank you very much.
All right, very good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This evening, we also want to continue our recognition of some of the advisory committees. Tonight, we focus on the Student Advisory Committee. It is comprised of students from each secondary school, and the participants provide their thoughts on instructional and non-instructional areas of student life to assist our staff in monitoring progress toward district goals. From Still, we have Gabriela Cruz Matos. She's already down here. A member of the Knights of the Round Table, as she stated before. And from Clemens, please welcome Tony Butler, a member of the Buffalo Herd.
Gabriel, I'm just saying, when he finishes, you're going to pull him out.
It's a little bit of a difference.
Good evening to all the board members. My name is Tony Butler. I'm a senior. I go to Clemens, and this is my first year actually in the student advisory group at our school. And we meet like every once a month, and what we discuss is how to improve the school. And that goes as far as what's better for us academically, athletically, just walking in the hallways, like how can we just better the school. And I'm sorry, I'm nervous. We discuss a lot, and what we also discuss is where our students in their lives individually, personally. So that can be what students are involved in at home, what they're most focused on at that moment. It could be religion, it could be volunteer activities, but I can honestly say that it helps a lot. And since our first meeting, I've seen improvements in the school. And our administrators, they really do try to adjust to the things that we discuss in the meetings. What can teachers do to improve the classrooms? What can the principal do? What can just a lot of stuff. We also discuss I'm sorry, I'm not good at speaking in front of people.
You're doing great, Tony. Who leads the meeting?
Thank you. But that's really the big part of what we discuss is how to improve the classroom and what students are focused on, because what we're focused on really does affect our classwork. And I can say that personally. If I'm not focused on my classwork, then I'm not doing too well in school. But I try to be as focused as possible, and sometimes it's better than others, but you know. But I'm just grateful to be a part of the Buff Herd. That's what we call ours, the Buffalo Herd. And Miss Sarazati is here with me, Miss Hendrick, Miss Stewart. They're here with me. Miss Gossett, my sister, is here with me because my parents couldn't make it. So I just want to thank them for coming. And yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I was so nervous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Knights of the Round Table is such an amazing thing to be a part of. It is a group of the most outstanding leaders in our high school that represent each sport and every club. We meet 4 times a year, giving the students the opportunity to make a difference in our school. We sit down with the administration and discuss the positive things happening, including celebrations, but most importantly, the administrators listen to our issues and any changes we'd like to make in the school. These don't go unnoticed either. We take the time to plan a solution to any matters students or the school might have that could be better. For example, last year we adapted the library hours and now have longer hours for students to be able to advance their learning in the library. We also have accomplished a remind for the students, 8th graders being able to come visit at the end of the year, new ideas for the College and Career Center, and better ways to celebrate students' academic success. I look forward to these meetings because I get to see that my opinion is important. I love being able to experience my fellow classmates stating concerns they have to Ms. Cervantes, Mr. Matthews, and the rest of administration. Their listening to our social and academic needs really make a difference in our school. It is obvious that they are looking out for their students in every aspect of our Still High School experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Sponsors are welcome to come up too. Great job.
Good job. Great job.
Next, we will have Veronica Goldhorn and Dr. Limley for the recognition of principals.
Good evening, members of the board, President Westbrook and Dr. Gibson. As Director of Elementary Education, I would like to introduce to you our elementary principal that's being honored tonight. So Mrs. Jerry Pope, if you'll please come back to the podium with me. Miss Jerry Pope is the principal of Shorts Elementary. She has served in education for 16 years, and of those 16 years, 7 years have been spent here in SCUCISD. A fun fact about Mrs. Pope is that she is a new mommy to a beautiful baby girl, Ella May, and we hope and plan for her to be a future SCUCISD student. So, Jerry Pope.
Good evening, members of the board, President Westbrook, and Superintendent Dr. Gibson. I am Brett Limley. I'm the Director of Secondary Education Services, and I would like to introduce to you our secondary principal who is attending this month's board meeting. Missy Sosa is the principal at Samuel Clemens High School. She has spent 27 years in education, 20 of which has been right here with us in SCUCISD. And a fun fact about Missy, get ready for this. In 1980, she was crowned Laredo's hula hoop champion, twirling 26 hula hoops at once. Missy Sosa.
She was also, was she principal of the year last year? She was, or the year before?
Yes, she was.
She was. Dr. Limley and Veronica Goldhorn and Ed Suarez, we have a proclamation in honor of School Library Month.
Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, members of the board. April is School Library Month. I would like to recognize any of the librarians that are here. School librarians, if you're here, can you please stand? The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the school library is to ensure that students and staff are effective users of ideas and information, and whereas the school librarian's role is to provide the leadership and expertise necessary to ensure that the school library is an integral part of the instructional program of the school, and whereas the Board of Education has entrusted the school librarian in each school to teach the skills of locating and using information through traditional resources and new technologies, to provide literature appreciation activities, and to guide and encourage content and recreational reading to every student. And whereas lifelong learning begins and is systematically developed through the school library curriculum of the elementary and secondary schools. And whereas the school library continues to the individual growth and development of all students while fostering both excellence and equity in education. And whereas the librarians of the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD have dedicated themselves to work for quality school libraries for all students. Now there be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD does hereby proclaim April 2019 as School Library Month and encourages all staff, community members, and stakeholders to recognize this action and express their appreciation for our school librarians and their dedication and devotion to their work. If you'd like to make a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees adopt the attached proclamation in recognition of School Library Month, April 2019, and encourage all staff, community members, and stakeholders to personally express their appreciation for our school librarians and their dedication and devotion to their work.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'd like to make one comment. Having a retired teacher and librarian in the house, I understand and appreciate all the work y'all do every day. It is a fulfilling, but it's also a demanding job to try and keep your collections in line, to keep the books ready to go, to encourage the students to read. I appreciate everything y'all do. It is like I said, it's fulfilling, but it's a demanding job, and to thank you would not be enough, but that's all I have to give you. So My deepest thanks to you, and please keep up the good work because we need good librarians in our schools. Thank you.
Passed and adopted on this 21st day of March 2019 at the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District.
You think we should vote first?
I waited for you to vote, then I read that.
Oh, you're going to. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. If you're in favor.
That's right.
There we go.
Librarians, if you
Thank
please.
you very much.
Can I take a picture? Right in this way. This way. That's perfect.
Dr. Limley and Cassandra Gracia, recognition of student achievements.
Good evening again. President Westbrook, Dr. Gibson, and members of the board. Tonight we're here to recognize SCUC students who have achieved outstanding distinction in fine arts and CTE, that's career and technical education. We applaud their commitment and dedication to perform in these areas and bring excellence to our district. Students and parents and friends, we thank you for joining us tonight for this chance to recognize academic excellence. And to the students, congratulations on your accomplishments and best of luck on your bright future. So we're going to start off tonight with CTE TAFE. The Texas Association of Future Educators is a student organization created to allow young men and women an opportunity to explore the teaching profession. The following students qualified and competed in the TAFE state competition in Allen, Texas this past February 28th through March 2nd. Students, when I call your name, please come on up to be recognized. Kaylee Dreisbeck.
Does Kaylee want to sit in her mother's seat?
Yeah, she wants
to sit in her mother's seat.
Yeah. Kayla Foster. Ashley Hendricks. Soshi Lara. Erica Lopez. Jillian Moore. Madison Shaw. And special congratulations to Emma Yahimovich in her national qualification while competing at the TAFE state competition. This is our Clemens TAFE team right here, ladies and gentlemen. You guys, let's gather over here for a picture. Parents, please come out to take pictures if you like. All right, our next group is CTE HOSA. HOSA is the Future Health Professionals. They develop future leaders for the healthcare system. The following students have qualified for the state competition on March 28th through 30th in San Antonio. We're going to start with our steel team. Olivia Gattel, Abigail Pluchet, Darcy Reiser, Morgan Mercado, and Camille Clariti. This is our steel team. And from Clemens High School for CTE HOSA, we have Katarina Eberhard, John Campman, Angelica Morales, Mackenzie McIntyre, and also congratulations especially to Brandon Clark from Steele for being named the HOSA Area First Vice President, Emily Smith from Clemens for being named HOSA Area 1 Historian. So we'll get Brandon up here also. All right, our Clemens. Honori Roberts. She wasn't. Yes, I did talk to her. Hang on. I'll get her. Hold on, one more. We had one more. Anari and Jill Roberts. Come on down, Anari. I'm so sorry. I did talk to her now, but she's in the hallway. I'm sorry. Stay where y'all are. Stay where you have one more. One more.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
And we thought they were coming. Way to go, guys.
Okay, CTE DECA. DECA prepares emerging leaders and entrepreneurs in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management. The following students qualified for the state competition, which was held in Dallas, that's in Texas, February 21st through 23rd. From Clemens, we have Morgan Householder and Ryan Trevino. Don't go anywhere. And the following students earned national qualifications while competing at the DECA state competition. We have Monique Casso, John Arona, and Ryan Trevino. Ryan, come on back up. Okay, we're going to switch gears here now and switch over to our fine arts area. In orchestra, the following students qualified for state with a first division rating in solo. From steel, we have Peyton Davis and Olivia Williams. Also qualifying for state with a first division rating in solo from Clemens, Emily Layton and Lindsay Moore. The following students qualified for state with a first division rating in ensemble. From Clemens, we have Marlena Carrillo, Rebecca Villarreal, Emily Layton, and Lindsay Moore. You've heard those names? And our choir qualifiers, the following students qualified for state with a first division rating in solo and choir. From steel, Rhiannon Broussard, Joshua Cruz, Benjamin Lane, Gavin Leon, Catherine Price, Dahlia Slater, and Angelie Smith Rodriguez. This concludes our student recognition for the evening.
Priscilla, any public comments? No? Oh, there are public comments. In order to provide consistency and fairness to all individuals, public comments will be heard in accordance with Board Policy BED Local and procedures outlined in Administrative Regulation BED. Comments should be limited to topics such as policies, curriculum, and facilities. Any direct criticism of a specific employee will not be heard during public comments and should be considered separately as provided in board policy. In this context, individuals are cautioned to not identify any employee by name or by any combination of words or descriptions which could identify the employee to another individual. Public comments will be limited to individuals who sign up to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting before a board meeting is called to order. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint one person. An individual who signs up to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting may not relinquish their time to another individual. No public comment shall exceed 5 minutes. To ensure compliance with time limitations, a yellow card will be held up by the board secretary at 4 minutes. And a red card will be held up at 5 minutes. First, we have up Bill Hager.
Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, board members. My name is Bill Hager. I have 4 kids here in the district. Thank you. I have 4 kids here in the district. I have one at Dobie, 2 at Jordan, and 1 at Cibolo Valley, who is in the dual language program, which is why I'm here this evening. Typically, when I stand up to speak, I like to have either a written or at least a rehearsed presentation. I don't, so bear with me, please. We were notified last week that the 2-way dual language program was going to cease to exist as we know it. I think that's a shame. Ms. Goldhorn, after exchanging emails, has invited me to sit down with her and discuss what's behind the changes, and I'm glad to do that. But I've not had the opportunity, so I'm kind of uninformed. However, I can tell you that my son, Sammy, who's 6, the program has been fantastic for him. My wife is from Venezuela, fully fluent in Spanish. I own a construction company. My days are full of Spanish. I don't speak Spanish fluently. I wish I did. The program is more than about just the language. My son, his friends, are a mixture of Spanish-speaking, English-speaking. It's sleepovers. It's get-togethers. It's learning the culture. All of my kids understand Spanish. Sammy speaks Spanish. He rolls his R's. He has an accent. We'd like to see the program continue. Now, I understand that the data shows that the Spanish-speaking children are suffering in the program. I'm not sure why, but I'd like to find out. I know the program works well in other districts, and I think it'd be worth looking into it, finding out what can be done to salvage the 2-way program and to continue. My thought is, you take, 2 years of foreign language in school. I don't know too many people, if any, that really speak foreign language fluently from those classes. I'm sure they're out there. But I think that the folks I know that speak Spanish that didn't grow up in a Hispanic family, they learned from visiting a foreign country for work, for education. They've lived it, and they've learned the language. This program has kind of given, at least my son, and I think the other kids too, that opportunity. It's not just learning words out of a book. It's learning how to speak the language. So again, I don't know all the details as to why it's failing for the Spanish-speaking children, because my son is doing very well in the program. We think it's a great program, and we'd like to keep it. Thank you.
Next, we have Brandy. I don't know how to say your last name. Goulet. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to share our concerns regarding the changes to the dual language program. Along with Sammy, my son attends Cibolo Valley Elementary. They're actually in class together, and it's been a fantastic experience for us up to this point. On Friday, March 8th, a flyer was sent home with my child, advising that the two-way DL program has been phased out and will no longer be recruiting English-speaking or native speakers into the program. To say the least, we were shocked by this announcement and found it completely inappropriate that a message of this magnitude was handled by sending home a flyer the Friday afternoon that spring break began. We can't believe that this route of communication was chosen and the current DL families were not given the opportunity for a group meeting to discuss the demise of the program as we know it. During the week of spring break, we were able to connect with other parents and share our stories of shock and frustration. We began sharing information and getting more and more upset as the details and stories we shared painted kind of a bleak picture and really didn't match from person to person because we're just making assumptions based on the conversations that we've had with really no real support from the district or information other than the flyer that we were sent. We feel like we've been overlooked and disregarded. I don't understand how we're surrounded by school districts with extremely successful and growing two-way DL programs, yet we have all of a sudden shutting down the model here in SCUC. So we were made really a ton of promises up front when we made the commitment to the program. We were shown slide after slide of data regarding how important the program is in enhancing the long-term academic success of our children. We were told that it was a huge commitment, but to trust us over and over again, trust us with your children. We even had to sign a contract or a commitment statement saying that we were all in on the process. So now what? The promises were empty. The district has really failed our children and future generations of DL participants that will not get this opportunity. My son has built relationships at Cibolo Valley. He's a first grader now, but we have twin girls that should be entering the program or we're hoping to enter the program next year. My son's built friendships with Sammy and other members, and just like his father said, sleepovers, and really kind of making that connection. And not even in our homeschool, we were actually diverted to Cibolo Valley to attend this program. So it's a really, really difficult thing to explain to him as a 6-year-old, for him to understand that he may or may not be able to continue there. We don't know what it's going to look like a year from now. We've been given the assurance that yes, next year he'll attend Cibolo Valley in the dual language program as designed, and as it phases out, then what? We're not really confident in the process. We're not really confident in that the program's really going to sustain the kids that are still in the program over the course of time. Mentally, it's really difficult, again, to explain to a 6-year-old why you may have to go to a different school next year because the numbers in your program are dwindling. Parents are taking their kids out of the program, moving to other sites. So it's a bit frustrating just to think forward into the mental health, stress that's going to be placed on him and to the other children, not just my own. I don't understand really how we get to this point. One day we have a really successful, all this data showing me how great it is, and then on a Friday we get a flyer saying, sorry, we're done. We're going to switch this to a one-way model and have a nice day. I don't know if it's, I understand the data. I understand that that there's some data driving the decision to make it a one-way program. I'm not sure if there's budget constraints. I'm not sure. I don't know. And that's really why I'm here. I don't know. Along with the other parents, we don't understand why the change was made. We don't understand if this was a program management issue, if it's a budget issue, if it's, kind of where this came from out of the blue for us. We don't know when the decision was made. We weren't given any opportunity to give any input. I don't know the process for program changes within the district, but it is really disconcerting to me to have this happening right now. So, in conclusion, I'm requesting that any proposed changes to the current DL program be placed on hold for the upcoming 2019 and 2020 school year until further consideration can be given. I don't feel like there's been any community input or any opportunity to be creative or maybe offer suggestions that would salvage the program in the manner that it's in right now. I think that it would be a really huge disservice to the current students as well as future students, not being allowed them to build those, bicultural, biliterate skills over the course of time. And then also, we need to investigate how do we get here? Where were the failure points that led us to all of a sudden one day moving to a different model? I just would appreciate that consideration and for future, to put that on hold until we can decide the best process moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. As part of board policy, if it's not on the agenda, we usually don't comment. So I don't want you to take us not commenting on not taking your concerns. But you are meeting with Dr. Goldhorn, correct?
Yes.
Both of y'all, or?
Yes. we'd like a group forum if possible. I mean, that's really what we're asking, so we can all kind of come together and get the real answers and get some more information out of.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
If for some reason Dr. Goldhorn does not satisfy your plea, please feel free, to send any member on this board of trustees an email. But I think Dr. Goldhorn, Mr. Veronica Goldhorn will do an excellent job in satisfying all your questions. Fair enough?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have Dr. Gibson and give a legislative update.
Thank you, President Westbrook. Just real quickly, and this is a moving target, so I remind myself to not say a whole lot about where we are in the legislative session because everything will change tomorrow. But we are at the point where all of the filing of new bills is over, and so we know what we're going to be working with for the rest of the session. Just as a matter of information, 2 hours before the deadline for filing bills last week, the Senate filed, and I handed you a copy of Senate Bill 4, just an overview, and the Senate, they filed a shell bill basically that mirrors House Bill 3. So that's significant in the sense that now there is a plan on the Senate side, whereas prior to that there wasn't a plan per se. Right. Well, and there were bills, but they weren't necessarily a comprehensive attempt at the whole formula. This is important because it makes it much easier for them to align their differences when there's a similar shell bill. I guess that's one of the most significant things. We will continue to watch now. It's House Bill 3, Senate Bill 4. Those are the two that we're interested in a lot of things, but those are the two that, we're very interested in. And then how the two houses play with each other, as they try to reconcile the differences. Mr. Finley and I were talking earlier today, probably another big thing to watch is, right now the House is saying there's $9 billion available to fund this. The Senate has been silent on the total amount available. So that number is really important because you can have all these formulas you want. That the size of that one big amount you're going to put in there dictates how much help there is in all the formulas. And so we just need to keep watching that. And if that $9 billion starts, no, it's really $7 billion. Oh, well, no, it's really $6 billion. No, it's really $5 billion. Really, no, it's nearly $4 billion. Then, we're kind of back to same old where we've been, for the last 10 years. I don't mind saying House Bill 3 on some of the very first early runs. And I'm only going to say it because Paige is out of the room and she wouldn't allow me if she was in. But, somewhere around 10 million a year, is basically where, that looks like right now, just doing some quick math on it. And, I would argue, and I think I said this at Steele High School this morning, that's about, what we're down from 2010, maybe minus interest and minus inflation. But we'll take it as a way to get back. So there, there's a chance that there could be some real money at play as the state tries to claw its way back from being at an all-time low of support for public education in Texas. Now, having said that, I think on the agenda it says budget update. Also, that kind of is the budget update. I want to just really maybe crystallize one statement, and then we'll need to there's probably no reason to have a budget workshop between now and the end of the session. My opinion is everything that you need to know. Now we just watch. If we were fortunate enough to receive something, along 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 million, additional dollars in state revenue, I would really want us to be cautious about immediately. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, so I don't mind saying this, but sinking that and reoccurring costs just immediately, before we really understand the nuances to the formula, if that makes sense. And you'll really go at a very cautious approach. Now having said that, we're going to grow some students next year. We're going to need some additional staff for special education. We're going to need some additional bus drivers. We're going to need some additional child nutrition workers. We're all of the same things of a fast growth district. What we'll, I guess, make the promise to you as the staff is that we will study the staffing requests that we've already presented to you in the budget workshops beyond those that I just said, that next tier, we'll make sure that you all feel very comfortable about what those are, why we would even consider them, and what their role will be, and I guess just said plainly why we believe we couldn't live without them. And so that'll be what happens over the summer. If we take a real cautious approach in the 1920 budget and we were able to get some additional revenue, I would highly recommend that we don't bank that additional revenue in fund balance and we hit that EPP and get that monkey off of our back. Because we consider using, because if it's going to be one time, 1 year, then let's spend it on one-time projects. Theoretically, this is supposed to be reoccurring money that's going to come back the next year. So before we sink it all in reoccurring costs, let's go buy it off. And I would also say that, we have a $9 million excess over the 90 days right now in our fund balance. And as you know, Mr. Prisky's queuing up and Mr. Mosley queuing up some projects out of bond savings. So all of those things coupled together. And I guess I want to close with this, that I think we've talked a lot about expenditure projection plan. I really do believe this board understands it well. I just think it's time to stop talking about it and start going to work on it. But whatever that funding source is. I think there are a few other things no, that's it. We're good.
The only other kicker that's out there too is that the House Bill 3, Senate Bill 4 is the funding side, but we still don't know what the legislature is going to do as far as property tax relief. That could change across the board. We also don't know what the recap or the TRE point is. We could be 5%, with currently 8%. They can knock that back. If they do that, the legislature doesn't make us whole against that, then that can affect our funding. So there's a lot of variables still out there, and literally until the House and the Senate pass something and the governor signs it, we're not going to know for sure what that looks like. And I know my hope is that the legislature would get it together and do this by the end of May. If they don't, we could be looking at a special session. So we'll see what ends up coming out. I would agree with Dr. Gibson right now. It looks promising, but again, until the governor signs it, we don't have a clue. So.
And that's well said, Mr. Finley. So on the tax, property tax compression, what's your best estimate of how we read this?
What they're saying in House Bill 3 is that it would be compressed to 96 cents for Tier 1. So we've been at $1, so it would compress it to 96 cents, and then we would get the 4 golden pennies. And they're saying that within the nuances of the new way that they've written the formula by increasing the basic allotment and being able to retain those golden pennies, and there's even some talk of by a unanimous vote, the board could vote for 1 additional golden penny. So that would be a tax rate as high as we could go without a tax ratification election, $1.01. So that
and at the same time yielding approximately more, $10 million a year net difference.
Yielding more money based on the nuances of the new way that they're going to be doing the formula and upping the basic allotment.
And that only works if they put $9 billion in.
Right.
We can talk all day long.
It's the infusion of the money that they're able to do that. And because that was my question all along. Okay, or does that mean we stay at $1.04? Will we really be compressed? And they're talking about but the phase in is to go to 8 golden pennies rather than the 6. So you would go, start at 96, but before the first year you can vote for an extra one unanimously if the board approves that, and then you would have additional. And they're not going to be as valuable as what we were seeing in this biennium. They're just going to be 160% of the basic allotment, which is about what we saw the first year of this biennium.
So what precious metals just below gold? It's whatever that is.
And not that this applies to us, the copper penny yield is also increasing, and we would be out of that danger zone of us being subject to recapture if we were to ever go for those.
And that is very, very intentional because now they have.
It's giving you a lot more discretion.
Right. They're going to get some of the districts. You hear them saying we're going to get some of the districts out of Robin Hood. That mechanism is how they're going to do that. They're going to get districts out of recapture through this. Again, it's talk unless they infuse the $9 billion.
Absolutely.
The only other point of that would be is that to go ahead and compress us, and we're able to go to $1.03, like you say, go back to $1, go to $1.01 unanimous. If they chop us back to 5%, which means whatever local property taxes would go up during that year, because we've been averaging about 7% for the last several years, that would knock us back to 5%. And so if the property values go up over the course of that year and they go to 5%, is that going to require us to reduce the tax rate to match that 5%? Because the property values go up by 7%. In order to stay below that cap, we would have to reduce our tax rate.
So that's if they kept that in there. And right now
the cap's not in the HB.
I guess it could come through appropriations or something. But it's just funny that was a good photo op for about a week, and it just kind of sizzled out. Yeah. So right now we're not even hearing anything.
The other thing would be that hopefully the legislature would not do what they did back in 2006 and say, here it is, and then wait for 13 years to actually decide they want to do something about it, because if they only index for inflation, they don't do the things necessary to maintain that funding level going forward. Several years down the road, we're going to be right back here again. Yeah. And so the first year, the first biennium out, we'll see what they do, but this is going to be a continuing thing for every biennium here on out. The legislature doesn't stay after this, or we don't stay after them, I should say, then we could find ourselves right back in the same thing 4 to 6 years out.
Yeah, and you remember Senator Watson at our TASB day, saying at the end of every session they put all the legislators in one room and hold the pen up like Men in Black and erase all their memory to make sure that it starts from scratch 2 years later. I don't know. You're right. You would think we would build this, session after session after session, but it's almost like we start over every session. Now, part of that is that the House has to run for election every session. I mean, I'm not saying that's good or I'm not saying that's bad, but that's just reality. You've got a whole new freshman class in the House every session. You got a brand new freshman class. That's it.
As part of the good governance self-check, it's important for trustees to engage the public, advocate on behalf of the district to strengthen community partnerships and to improve overall performance and stewardship of public resources. David?
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. Yes, I continue to do my watchdog thing at Green Valley Elementary, usually every Wednesday. I don't miss very many Wednesdays there. It's always a good time. Enjoy that. This month I had several invitations to come to visit the schools. I read at Rose Garden, Miss Pratt's room on the March 1st, Dr. Seuss. And had a lot of fun. Always good to visit Miss Pratt in her classroom at Rose Garden. And also, a few days later, I was invited by Miss Gertz at Rose Garden, in a third grade class, to do a Skype mystery. And I had no idea what I was getting into, but with Miss Gertz, that's usually the case. So, what we did was we did a Skype thing, out there in the computer world, whatever, And what you do is you visit another classroom somewhere in the world. Typically it's in the United States, but sometimes it could be in a foreign country. And you ask questions and you guess where they're located. So it's kind of a mystery. It's like, okay, and so, typically the first question you ask is, are you located in the United States? And in this case, it was yes. Are you located in, northeast, southwest, southeast, west? Well, we zeroed in on this classroom right away that they were in the northeast. And I was the lead thinker, which was the biggest downfall that class had. And so they would come to me and say, well, Mr. Peepson, what do you think? What do you think? And I was looking, because you have a picture of the class. You see the students and the teacher. And I was looking at how they were dressed as to clue where they were. And I'm thinking they have got to be in the Northeast because they are boots on. I mean, everything, And anyway, long story short, we locked in for them Northeast. They went to every region in the country and finally hit Southwest was their last guess. Well, yes, that's up. And of course, what do they pick? They picked the largest state in the Southwest, Texas. We said, yes. I mean, we're guessing all around the Northeast, and they actually won the contest because they picked Texas, because all you have to do is pick the state. You don't have to pick, and they were from Rhode Island. So you're like, okay, the largest state as opposed to the smallest state. We didn't have a chance anyway, but it was a lot of fun. We had a good time. It was a small Providence, Rhode Island. I think this class had 16 students in it. The whole school had like 180 students in it. And I told Miss Gertz, I said, you need to tell her you got 180 kids in your class, you know. So anyway, it was good. Moving on, I've done a HLR, high level rounding at Schertz Elementary with Jerry, Principal Jerry over there. Great, did a good job, enjoyed that. And I have an HLR scheduled at Clemens High School. Going to be there, Miss Sosa. All right, I'm writing down my questions. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. You give me a hard time. And we're going to supposedly, hopefully, everything works out, visit the Capitol next week to continue our advocating for school finance funding. And that's it. Thank you. I know I took a long time, but, you know, I have to. Bye. Thank you.
As part of my advocacy, I continue with the Schertz committees in town, the historical committee, as well as the Schertz Library. And I wanted to highlight one of the Schertz Library's programs that I think kind of meshes with our students. One of the programs that Ms. Olhorn was talking about this past month was BrainFuse. It is a tutoring program that our students can access, and she kind of highlighted the fact that they also have tutors who will tutor like in Spanish. They're Spanish-speaking tutors. And she told us the story of how she had probably a 5th or 6th grader who was a ESL student who walked in with their parents who did not speak English, and the student needed help with math. And so the parents came to the library to see who could help them. So Ms. Olhorn put them on this program of BrainFuse, and they were able to log into a live tutor who spoke Spanish and that was able to tutor the student, and the student was then able to get his math done, which I thought was fantastic. And I think that's something that we probably should let all of our students, or at least encourage our students to. She did say she gets a good number of our students who use that program. And there's a lot more to it than just tutoring math. She says she has programs for high school students that are applying to colleges where they have people who will read the essays that the kids are doing and give them feedback in the event that there's no one. You know, a lot of students are like, hey, can you read my essay? And they have these tutors who will look at them and give them feedback on those. But I just wanted to highlight that program because I thought it was a pretty good one. I also have done some high-level rounding. Made it to Watts yesterday, Sipple, and Rose Garden this morning. Those are fantastic opportunities to see what's going on at the campuses. Made it to the basketball games. That was a lot of fun. Isn't wrestling, but it's okay. I'm in wrestling kind of withdrawal mood. And that's it.
But with many others, we went on the first Capitol visit on the 26th of February. we had that called budget meeting that many of us made to call board meeting the budget meeting. I also attended the Tri-County Chamber luncheon on Tuesday of last week and the Northeast Partnership on Thursday of last week. I did go to the Steele High School basketball playoff game and a Communities and Schools Finance Committee meeting last week.
This will be my turn. Okay, I went up to Austin with everybody else to see if we couldn't wrangle some money out of the legislature, and that was interesting. We had meetings with several representatives and staff of Senator, what's her name? Campbell. I want to forget that name. I don't know why. I just do. Learned a lot about that. I learned some more about the legislative process, what they're up against, and hopefully they actually did. We'll see how that goes. One thing I did get, Dr. Gibson just gave me, back in January, I went to the Capitol, and I actually have proof that I was there. Very nice picture with Senator Cruz, and I'm kind of back just smiling my face off. So I really appreciate that. I'm hoping to clear my schedule to go up next Tuesday and try to twist some more arms in Austin. We'll see how that goes. So I'm continuing to keep my lines of communication up with staffs of both Senator Cornyn and Senator Cruz, and so far that looks promising, but we'll just have to see how that goes. The legislative process is not the fastest vehicle in the world, so we'll see how that goes. So, but like I said, I'm looking forward to going up against Austin next Tuesday and have some fun. Thank you.
None? Okay.
Yeah, just Mexican American School Board Association conference in Austin, I guess about a month ago, and one of the things I don't think a lot of folks think about our district, but we are predominantly Hispanic students. I don't think most people would think that just off the top of your head, but it's a good conference, and let's just kind of focus on the fact that all of our students are different and come to a class with a different set of needs, cultural biases, backgrounds, what have you, and it's always important to not forget about that. I also forget the lady's name, but we had a young kind of professor type lady from Georgetown University, and she talked about statistics and how typically we're provided numbers such as the average amount we spend per student, how much we spend for facilities, things like that. But she kind of just focused on the fact that we don't really break that down any further, and how much is going per classroom, type of students, and we try to tend to make these big ticket decisions sometimes as a school board, but I think they're working on a project across the country to actually fine-tune some of those numbers. And Robert, you may talk to it a little bit better than I can, but to actually dig deeper into the statistics, to illuminate more on how we make decisions based on the numbers that we're and did the basketball games and a few baseball games this spring break as well.
Yeah, I think the same information that Gary was talking about, I shared with Amy Dreisbeck and Dr. Gibson, and I think he may have shared it with Paige and maybe Wayne Pruski. Basically, it is going to be part of a required presentation as of spring of next year as ESSA. The ESSA monetary will have to be broken down per campus. And so there were different ways of looking at that per campus and sort of helping board members evaluate how well money is spent per campus and in the district overall. So,
yeah, and there was, just to echo on that, there was a component I didn't mention why, because it's going to kind of open a new door. I don't know if it stayed in there or if it will, but it's for any district that is considering a tax ratification election or has already gone through one. Okay, so they've already done an announcement. It has to go through a quote-unquote efficiency audit. So I think there's some alignment to what you and Mr. Emmett are talking about in that effort. And so we, just so you know, and I haven't had a chance to see Mr. Emmett, that we took that presentation, and as we work on our priority 4 strategies, that as that kind of emerges, since it's new, we're going to use, we want to make sure that aligns as much as we can with where it looks like the direction's going on efficiency.
But to wrap it up, I did go to the Steel basketball game. I would like to thank David for sending out an email and allowing me to fill in for SPB for the golf tournament. So that was my first time playing golf this year. I play about twice a year, but it's the first time this year. Went to the Northeast Partnership Luncheon, TASB Advocacy Day with the rest of the school board, and of course the MASBA conference. And thank you very much. Next.
Mr. Westbrook, let me add, since you mentioned the golf tournament, I want to thank. I was able to participate in the Education Foundation golf tournament. Being on the board is very important, but usually I just go out there and help, and sometimes somebody needs a fourth or whatever. So I was able to participate. I was glad to see you there, and Jerry was there, and Dr. Gibson and his crew came out. Appreciate all the staff members who participated in the golf tournament or who came out and helped and just visited. And, it was a great showing. We had decent weather. It was nice. So I appreciate that. So thank you very much for participating with that.
Thank you very much. Let's take a approximately 10-minute break and reconvene at 7:35. Board is now reconvened. The time is now 7:35. We will have a Dr. Dame Edwards report on the 2018-2019 District Strategic Plan Scorecard.
Thank you, President Westbrook, Dr. Gibson, members of the board. It's a pleasure tonight to really just kick this off and introduce it, although I know how Mr. Westbrook really likes my presentations based on previous comments at board meetings. but unfortunately it's not. Mr. Westbrook, you're only going to get to hear from me a little while. So with that being said, we're here to talk about Priority 1. Our report, as a reminder, we're just going to go through some of this information. Actually, our Priority 1, which is board approved, part of our strategic plan, is all graduates will be college and or career and or military ready. The purpose statement, SCUC strives to prepare every graduate for post-high school success in a way that embraces critical attributes outlined in our traits of a graduate. A reminder, again, this is our overall Priority 1. You can see that the top left box are district strategic goals for the through the strategic plan of 1822. Below that, our key annual results for this year. What are we focusing on this year? Really breaking that down. We came back, I believe, in October and shared key annual strategic actions, those things that we're doing. Kind of use that iceberg model below the surface to get us to where we want to go. And then we're going to share a little bit tonight about our key progress monitoring measures and how that's driving and having that data is driving our decisions in how to continue to accomplish those goals. And I believe Ms. Siebers actually had the opportunity to see some of that firsthand today, and that was real exciting to see some of that. So again, these are what we just talked about with our annual results, strategic actions, and then progress monitoring today. We did take the opportunity last Tuesday to work with our principals to actually score how we're doing with our annual progress monitoring measures. And again, you see a lot of yellow there. That's have begun, or we're making progress. And so that's a positive sign. We're definitely making progress. And we'll hear more about that. But common assessment using that, we were yellow. And several of these, we had 4 groups, and this was one of them. It was 2 of the groups said green and 2 of the groups said yellow. We had a good conversation about what that is, and we decided, okay, if it's 50%, then we're making progress, but we're not where we want to be. And that's what I love about this group, is that we're not where we want to be. We want to keep going. So making progress with the universal screeners, also how we are using our school reports, attendance, student surveys, and career and technology education. So with that being said, Mr. Westbrook, my portion is over for now, and we have some of our, what we refer to as our frontline staff, coming in to share how we're using these progress monitoring measures for that continuous improvement. So with that being said, our first person up would be one of our principals that we recognize tonight to share with us a little bit about how Schertz Elementary is using our district common unit assessments and universal screener data to for that continuous improvement to take us where we want to go. So, Ms. Pope.
Good evening. At Schertz Elementary, we are using district common unit assessments and universal screeners to drive instructional decisions. You will see often teachers circled up in PLCs, either by grade level or by campus. We are looking for student growth. We're looking for growth in our student groups. We're comparing our student groups to each other, and of course those student groups to the all student performance. Uniquely, what we are most proud of, that we have been able to strategically plan with our campus improvement plan and our community, our CIC team, and decide to provide after-school tutorials with our Title I funds based on some of these data on district common unit assessments. So you'll find teachers working after school, planning actually some possible Saturday opportunities, and us being able to provide funding for teachers to provide those opportunities to students. We also adjust intervention. We adjust research-based interventions based on these data measures. Recently, based on our district common unit assessment data, our campus leadership team came together and planned a professional development for only campus leaders. We didn't want to overwhelm teachers, and to our surprise and to our excitement, teachers heard of our book study. They heard that we were reading the Fundamental 5 on campus, and now we have books in every teacher's hand. And that came from just developing our campus leaders and letting that message just be shared and celebrated, and now we have everyone on board. We've also been able to tailor campus professional development on frequent formative assessments and what those could look like in our classrooms. We've helped teachers develop their instructional blocks, looking at that block of time and finding out, is there a possibility of taking 30 minutes to embed recursive review of the standards this data is showing us may be in need. And so that has been very rewarding to the development of our teachers. When we look at universal screener data, we most recently, in the beginning of the year and middle of the year, we have completed a 5-why protocol where we went through a tier 1 trend analysis. And so the purpose of that is to look at your various student performance levels, find the percentile that students are performing in, and make decisions. Find those students who are performing below the 20th percentile and why. What do they need? What other data points either verify that or exclude that performance level? And then we make instructional decisions in the classroom or in an intervention point. We also looked at that universal screener data and was able to determine students performing in the 90th percentile. What students were we missing? Who needed to be recommended for gifted and talented services? And maybe aligning all those data points to tell a story for a child. We were blessed to be able to create some solutions to some of the Tier 1 data analysis, and that was a need for phonics instruction, a systematic approach with instructional materials and teacher training. So based on the analysis of district common unit assessments, universal screeners, Schertz Elementary was able to secure really great reading, a phonics program for kinder, first, and second grade teachers. Teachers have training, teachers have materials. So not only are we making decisions that impact kids quickly, we're making decisions for the development of our teachers in the classrooms.
Yes.
We're going to be opportunity for questions later.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I want it now. I'm
just
joking.
We're going to bring the whole group
I'm joking.
up here. We're all going to stare you down.
We're brothers. We're brothers. Now.
Yeah, now.
All right.
So the next part, each of our campuses has really placed a great focus on, really our district on that student attendance portion of that for many reasons. But first and foremost, we know when students are attending, they are getting that instruction that they need. So Ms. Sosa and Ms. Cerzati are going to come talk to a little bit about how Clemens is using this and monitoring this progress to help drive learning. So I'd like to introduce and welcome them to the podium.
Good evening again. So we will discuss what the high school, both high schools combined, are doing, have agreed upon on strategic actions and measures as well. So these are not solely all Clemens or all solely Steele. It's a combined effort. But what I found when I received Steele's information is that a lot of the same strategic actions and measures match up. So at the start of the year, we have conversations with students about the importance of attending school. We also inform them about the 97% goal that SCUC has set and that Clemens strives to accomplish weekly. We educate students on school attendance loss and more specifically how they can be denied credit. Weekly, every Monday, the class, whether it be the freshman, sophomore, junior, etc., the class with the highest attendance is announced and celebrated over the intercom. Monthly, we do three things. The assistant principals run truancy reports, and they counsel with students individually to create an individual plan to recover hours. Those students that surpass the number of days per semester, they meet with them and they counsel and they set a plan. And a lot of the way students can recover their hours is through Saturday school, D-halls, afternoons, before school, during their lunchtime, etc. The second thing that's done monthly is that warning letters are mailed out to students' residents, notifying students' parents of excessive absences. And the third thing that's done monthly is the attendance committee meets. Each department has a department member on that committee, and they meet to discuss current attendance percentages, strategies that can improve attendance, and possibly factors that may be affecting attendance, whether it be the flu, etc. Quarterly, all students with perfect attendance are celebrated, and we have an ice cream social or a cake social. They receive tickets in their classroom. They report to the cafeteria, and that's where they get their treat. And we celebrate them, giving them high fives and congratulating them and encouraging them to continue attending. And then I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Cerzati.
So looking forward, I think it was very fortuitous to have Tony here this evening to talk about
their contribution in terms of Buff Herd. Attendance is something that we tap into our students about what brings you here, what keeps you here, and what is keeping you from us. And so we get those student voices as well and look at the beginning with the end in mind. What is the end of the year going to look like? What are we working toward? So one of the many things that we try to strive for is having something that's so big that they're really working toward it. And last year, I believe, we had quite a few students who earned with perfect attendance tracking the opportunity to spend some time with us, have kind of like a fanfare kind of thing. They had treats, they got to play games. And I know we're talking about high school students, and like, why would they want to, sit with some adults and have cookies and things like that? They'll do anything for something as simple as stickers. So tapping into that with our students, we get their information from areas like Buff Herd. We share it with our committee members, and we work towards offering something similar to what we did last year, or even what would you like to see? Would you like us to bring in an activity where they've had those, blow up games and things like that, and they can play around to make it worthwhile? So all that being considered, when we have extreme cases, as administrators and CSS team members, we look at those kids who are consistently missing out for whatever reason that it is, and we have very personal conversations and say, how can we get you back on track? And so those critical moments, we involve the truancy officer, Ryan Clark, will submit an electronic request to get his support as well. So it's a joint effort in trying to keep attendance above the norm for a large high school like we do have with Steele and Clemens. Our goal always remains the same, though. The teachers have the same goal as the students do, and that's 97%. And so there's a consistent and constant message where if your teachers are here 97% of the time, therefore you are here 97% of the time. And like Ms. Dosa mentioned, we combat things like the flu or events that are impacting their lives physically and that they have no control over. And so those constant critical conversations that we have with them every day builds towards that. So as an incentive for our staff, we offer things like Jeans Day. If our staff hits 97%, taking into account only the willing absenteeism in terms of a local sickness or a personal day that they could have, orchestrated at some other time, instead of saying if it's an absence because it's a staff development, we don't take that into consideration for the 97%. So that it really is goal funded for those individuals as well. So the students are seeing that the teachers are working towards that goal weekly, and they try to strive towards it too.
Don't need to introduce Mr. Life. We all know him well, but Mr. Life is going to talk to us a little bit about student surveys, and these are surveys beyond the end of year surveys. Again, these are progress monitoring measures. So, Mr. Life.
Thank you. As you'll recall, back in our old strategic plan, we had what we call the Goal 1.10, which really just focused on quantity. How many kids do we have in the programs? And in looking at it and developing the new strategic plan, we really decided that, that's really that 85 to 90%. We've kind of settled in there, and we think that's a good sweet spot, and it's kind of just become common practice. That's what we do in SCUC. So we wanted to really focus on this new strategic plan on improving the quality of the programs, not just the quantity. And one of the strategies we settled on was a student survey. And as Dr. Edwards said, this is not the standard survey we've been giving, but it's very program specific. The athletic programs at the end of each season have been giving a survey to the team. The coach gives it to the team and gets the feedback. Mr. Linhoff collects that and goes over that. And then the fine arts programs will be doing that at the end of the year. When their final contests are over with for the year. I will tell you, and Coach Linhoff will tell you, we did have some apprehension from some of the coaches and sponsors at first, but it's really proven to be very valuable, or he'll tell you that, and I'm looking forward to it with the fine arts programs as well. It gives direct feedback. We ask students things like, do you feel like you've improved as an athlete or as a musician? Do you feel like you were a better student in the classroom because of your participation on this team or in this organization. Do you feel like the coach or the sponsor cares about you as a person? And do you feel like you're a better leader? Have you learned some leadership skills? And so this is really good feedback for our coaches and sponsors to take and look and see that student voice, and then make plans for the next season or for the next year on what they can do to perhaps improve in some of those areas.
And also to share with us a little bit of information on our CT certifications earned, I'd like to ask and introduce Melissa Gossett to the podium.
Thank you. I'll be talking a little bit about CT certifications earned to the district. When we look at our CT certifications and our CT courses, it's a constant trend of change, and it's never quite the same. And we look at what our students, the labor market data tells us. We look at areas in which our students are interested in as far as careers, and that helps us to guide one in which our endorsements, our coherent sequences, and then the certifications that are viable for our students to earn throughout those endorsements and then as they go through their coherent sequence. Our CTE teachers are really great at encouraging our students to continue through their endorsements, continue with their coherent sequence, and finding and offering certifications that are viable for business industry for our students to leave high school, go on to either career, possibly college, or the military, and be prepared. As a district, we look at students being career ready, the endorsements being followed, and through those endorsements earning certifications, whether it's one certification or multiple certifications throughout their coherent sequence in their CTE courses. We look at the accountability list and other applicable certifications that business and industry partners through our CTE advisory boards, our SEEK committee, look and recommend for our students in the ways in which they need to progress and what's happening in those trends in the labor area and industry. It's also a great way. We're building a lot of great relationships within our community. I'm fortunate enough to be able to work with SHRT CDC, and they have really helped to push us into a lot of different business and industry areas. Our business industry partners through our CT Advisory Board have been great help in providing us with resources to implement in our courses, to implement our CT classrooms, and to develop our career and technology student organizations and the different certifications that our students are able to get. And for that, it also is pushing us into more internship opportunities for our students. We were given an opportunity to have a number of our students apply for internships with Joris in their construction area and also in their HR, their marketing, and then in their BIM or business management. So currently we have a number of students throughout our campus that have applied for those positions and will hopefully get some interviews. We've also got another student that's doing an engineering internship with another business industry partner through our CT Advisory Board, Setyon and Associates, and he's actually doing structural and steel CAD, and that's part of him being in our engineering program, following through that endorsement and coherent sequence and earning an AutoCAD certification. So the more certifications our students are able to earn that are viable to their endorsements and then their program of study, the more opportunities that are continually going to open up for those students. So increasing those certifications are definitely going to increase our student opportunities throughout our district. Thank you.
So we wanted to share a little bit about that information with everyone, and then now, next steps and opportunities is very similar to I think what Mr. Pruski shared with the priority 3. Continue to work on the actions. We're going to continue to monitor our progress and review and revise priority 1 as well as the rest of the priorities. We've just had conversations about what that's going to look like and really doing a comprehensive look at did we meet our goals and are those going to remain the same for this next year. So with that being said, Mr. Westbrook, here is your slide for questions.
No, I want to allow the rest of the board an opportunity before I go. Thank you very much, Dr. Edwards.
Mr. Westbrook, I was waiting to hear what your question was going to be before I could come up with my question, but you put pressure on. I'm always ready to jump in. There was a couple of things that I heard that really piqued my interest was the idea about the 97% attendance and with staff and students, and I don't know if it can be quantified, but I do
strongly believe that there is a very strong correlation between learning, instruction, and attendance by both staff and students. So appreciate what y'all are doing in that regard. And I think some folks may say, well, like was pointed out, students are going to do a lot of things to get a little bit of a reward. Some people may think, well, that's no big deal. Well, it is a big deal. So, contrary to what some people might think, it's nice to get a trophy or a medal, no matter what you do or how you did it. Dr. Edwards. But anyway, also, this is more, I guess, for Mr. Light than anything else was that. But I appreciate what y'all are doing on the campuses as far as the absenteeism and that sort of thing. Quality of programs. I think we can look at our programs as far as athletics and fine arts as well. I think even like POSA and CTE and all those things, FFA, the things that we have in this school district to offer our students, and participation is high. There's always a question about, okay, we got to the participation thing. What is quality? I think what you look at is I think the quality is the how well our students are doing, and obviously I think our students are doing pretty well. Whether it's in athletics, fine arts, HOSA, CTE, student council, FFA, they go and they participate and they're doing well. They're winning. They're participating. They're learning. They're going to state and national things. So I think it's proven that our programs have a high quality. And then just a question, has really nothing to do with any of that, but it kind of does. Because our bands do they participate in any of Fiesta events? Mr. Light, do you know? Is there a reason for that? I mean, I'm just curious. I get asked that question quite a bit. I mean, seriously, I do. People ask me why, because it's most of those events are on television, or they're the Battle of the Bands thing. I mean, that's a big deal. So. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we don't do that anymore, I know. So that kind of gets in the way of that. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do get asked, and so I just was curious, but I appreciate it. Thank you for all what y'all do. I do appreciate it.
One of the reasons that we don't take that day is that we do take Good Friday and Veterans Day, so it's trade-off, and we can shorten Thanksgiving or Christmas if we want to do Battle of the Bands.
No, I get asked, so
we do too, and that's the answer.
I think because Fiesta, of course, it's right around the time of the Texas Independence Day, and I think that should be a state holiday for everybody. Anyway. I relinquish my time.
So for the phonics, so from year to year, you're I'm trying to figure out, because I wrote some shorthand notes here.
Yes.
Basically scribble.
Cole was very interested when I said shorthand. He said, "Can you please explain that to me?"
Oh, yeah, that's.
I said, "Well, Cole, I don't know. It's
Nobody
just what
knows.
we do when we want to write fast."
Yeah, nobody knows shorthand anymore. Well, very few. So, are there any consistent performers year to year? Like for teachers, I mean, you're doing
classroom teachers.
Yes, classroom. So
sure, we're a PLC, so we
PLC.
ensure that those teachers that are high performers are sharing those strategies, instructional strategies, amongst their grade level. Our teachers this year also sat across the table, horizontal grade levels. So, for example, third grade, they huddled up and they established critical content for their grade level. So out of all of the standards we have to teach, what are the critical standards? We then took third grade's decisions, We align those to fourth grade's decisions. We align them to second grade's decisions. So when we're looking at common unit assessment data, we're also looking at that agreed upon critical content and monitoring those power standards, or what we call critical content, to ensure that growth in the floor. What is the foundation that our kids have to have after each grade level? So it's a vertical alignment and a horizontal alignment.
Well, that answered my my first question, because I was basically asking what lessons did you learn from year to year, but if you're coordinating between second, third, and fourth grade, you'll share those common practices and best practices.
It's powerful.
Mm-hmm. So one question is, what separates your top tier teachers that you can identify year to year, they're consistent, they're your A's, versus?
I think the most critical thing a teacher can do is two things. They need to know their kids, and they need to know their content. So when teachers take time to study who they have in their classrooms, what those children's backgrounds are, what gaps there might be in their lives or not. And like I said, some of that data at Schertz Elementary, we were missing some students that were high performers, performing in the 90th percentile. But if we're not looking at data very carefully, we're missing those kids. So I think teachers need to know their kids. So that's what's a common trait, is the teachers that take time to do that, but also the teachers that take time to really study their content. They take it home. We give them time and they take it serious. You have to know before you can teach others.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Return for Principal Sosa. So without those efforts, you go through a lot of efforts to maintain a 97% one way or the other for students and for teachers. But without those efforts, what would the attendance rate be? We're talking about 95%, 90%?
We average anywhere from 93 to 96.
Okay.
At the start of the year, it's typically closer to 97, and the first semester, I can tell you, we met 97% 3 times. If we weren't measuring and if we did not have strategic actions, I can tell you that would be below 90.
Okay.
If you do studies, high schools near us, they're in the 80s.
Okay.
90s, so we always surpass
Okay.
the area schools and most Texas schools, if you will.
Yeah, that goes.
We're constantly monitoring and measuring and ensuring that we have the best practices to get our kids to school.
I appreciate that, because it goes back to sort of the return on investment that we'll be talking about later on.
Echo what Jerry said. The teachers that are meeting the needs of our students are the ones that are the most successful and the ones that get the students to attend school. Students want to be in their class, and that's very obvious. Unfortunately, you can't teach that. You can stress that, but you can't teach a teacher how to build a relationship.
That's important. Maybe that goes back to social emotional learning of teachers, Dr. Edwards. Mr. Lipe, so on Spectrum TV, they had State Farm, and I know you said we've settled in at 80 to 90%. 85 to 90%. But on Spectrum News, they were talking about State Farm was sponsoring basically there's only 7 districts in the state of Texas that have a varsity gaming program, whereby they can earn their letter jacket through gaming, which would be very interesting. I don't know what the whole process is, but
GeekCon is this weekend.
I will say if you remember, we did a comprehensive study on, I think a request from Ms. Drasbeck when we looked at how we determine lettering in our district. So,
I remember that.
Yep.
Did that include? I don't remember the results. I'll go back through my emails. I'm trying to be honest, but
yeah, no, sir. I don't believe it did include anything for gaming at the time. And obviously, if 7 schools are doing it, it's a relatively either new or something like that.
It was State Farm it was just a thought process. I know you have GeekCon.
GeekCon is this weekend.
Yeah, something on Saturday. Yeah, it's Clemens High School. I don't know how to do Fortnite. I don't know.
Very on it.
And then the next one was technology. Oh, for the CT and technology, basically, Popular Magazine, Popular Science, I think it's magazine technology, which was interesting for Jerry. They were talking about the F-25 is so advanced now that in the near future, actually pilots will not be in the, cockpit. They'll actually probably be more on the ground because they're so. And so I didn't know to what extent drones, technology, and all of that is playing a part in CT because it's.
It is playing a big part. In fact, one of our student organizations, Technology Student Association, they have a competition with the drones, and where they actually have to do an obstacle course and they have to maneuver the drone throughout that obstacle course. And we've had students that have actually participated in played at the state level. But we do see a lot of information coming through, especially with cybersecurity and engineering, with the use of drones throughout. And even with our construction, they use drones to take pictures and do all sorts of really neat things. And so we've had a lot with the ag industry, engineering, STEM, where we've had a lot of articles and things we've shared and activities with the drones that we've used on campus.
Thank you very much.
I got one quick question. How do we solicit intern opportunities with local businesses or local entities?
It depends. We have I have a CT advisory board that I work with on our campus, and a lot of the business industry partners will, when they come in, will ask. We're looking for graduates, students that are about to graduate, maybe even juniors to come in and learn. They want our students to come in with an open mind and fresh face, and then kind of learn how the business runs, how it operates. And a lot of our businesses are having a hard time getting that highly skilled worker to come in there and get them to do the job like they want done. So they want our high school kids because they are eager, they are willing to learn, it's technologically advanced, and they're able to come in and pick up things quickly. Especially with students that are doing AutoCAD and they're doing engineering, Inventor, Revit, and they're able to go pick it up. And one student that's with Mr. Setion, he's doing steel construction structures, and he started this week with his internship. So that's all due to what he's learned in the classroom and able to go out and do. So a lot of our business industry partners are now asking, because we've forged a really great relationship with Sure CDC. I work with Sure CDC a lot. We're out there, we're able to do job shadow events. They're meeting our students, they're seeing how great they are and how talented they are, and they're opening their doors. So it's been really great for our students and for our campus and for our district.
Good. The leadership at Evo main event has asked me on multiple occasions for a point of contact. So a lot. Good, good. I kind of pointed them that way, but I just wanted to close the loop. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure.
Next, Mr. Pruski. Construction update.
Good evening, President Westbrook, Dr. Gibson, members of the board. Tonight is the March update of the construction projects ongoing throughout the district. You'll see there a couple different headers this time. It's not just Bond 2016. We're going to include a few others in there as well. The foremost on here will be, of course, Clemens. And let's just get on through there. So Clemens High School, again, we're about 89% complete. While it looks like we're almost there, it's still about 12 months. So 12 months to finish up inside. We have a lot of interior work going on behind some partitions and safety areas that's working through there and to be coming online in August. You've seen this many times, so the event center is active. The bridge to B-Wing will be open in April. The auditorium's already going on, is active. The interior renovations, as I mentioned, those are complete in the November side, but you also have part 2 down there right below it, the August 19. The west stair has been turned over, and then like I said, we're still working on inside the A-wing area. So just a reminder, we're inside that gold part now of Clemens. All the blue has been completed. Has been completed in there, except for in the courtyard. Sorry, don't count the courtyard part. But everything else in the instructional side and for that stairwell. So just a few pictures. Here's the aforementioned bridge. Steel is going up. They're actually doing some sheetrock and looking to close that in. There's ductwork in there already, so that is getting very close. Here's some pictures from inside the first floor of B-Wing. Just some renovations and the activity happening in there. You can see the safety walls. That's the partitions here in the plywood areas to try to alleviate student interaction there. So then in B-Wing second floor, this is that connector area that will go into what was the old gym, which will be the new culinary area. So this is that area here. That's the connection. This is the cafeteria to the right, the main building to the left. So there is a lot of work happening in this old, I was there a long time ago. We called it the old gym. The auxiliary gym. Apologies to that part, but which will now be the new CTE, which will have culinary, HOSA, and some forensic lab work in there as well. Again, this is just another picture of that area. So courtyard will be coming along later on in this project. So again, the old auxiliary gym site. This is some pictures on the inside. We're just getting ready for the learning spaces. It's kind of dark and dreary with the construction lighting in there, but it's about to really get moving and start taking its shape and form. This is the west stair. It's been turned over to the campus, and I think it's so new the kids may not even know it's there. But this allows some interior flow without leaving the campus between the main body of the campus and getting around to the S wing. It'll help out there with the R wing and even A and H. You can traverse yourself to there as well. You can see the new keyboard down here. Dr. Burkholder. Where we at? Come on. There we go. So you can see there's different areas of access to that. This will allow exterior, and they can even come out here to go into J or continue around. So this is to help out that flow. So this just recently was opened. Might have been even this week. Renovation of A-Wing first floor. These are the classrooms in the old front wing, so to speak, up there to the right. So we're working on the renovations there and closing them out. At the end of that wing, there will be some small office spaces here on the side. These are just some department landing zones, but the classrooms are getting kind of some touch-ups, as you can see there, new flooring, new paint, some new boards. This is the mall area covered in drywall for now. They'll have some large format tile coming in there and some new lighting as well. This will all be taking place during the summer rush. So we wanted to get in there. We did some work during spring break, and then we covered it up, and now we're just going to hold on and finish it out during the summertime. You may have seen the new fencing going along Elbel. These are the columns starting at our property line east towards blanked out the post office, and then this will come through here. The fence will continue and then tie into the main building. So you'll have that front facade fencing here with the wrought iron between the columns, and that's going to look very, very nice, I believe. So, band hall addition. So I'm going to stop there for Clemens before we go into band hall. Any questions on Clemens? Okay, so the band hall, the new band hall, again, will consist of interior renovations as well as a small addition onto the backside, as well as that'll go into the courtyard space. I'll show you that in a second, as well as a storage building onto the island that'll be forming out here as well. So trying to address all the storage needs and as well as the learning spaces with the addition there. So this is going to be where the new addition will happen. You can see them getting ready with the earthwork, so it'll come through and align on that side of the band hall, which was the old choir room, and then come out to where you can see the workers in the pictures here. So the new addition will come out to this part, into that courtyard area. There's a graphic of it. Here's the existing, and the gold being the addition there, and then you can see the new building over here as well. This will start roughly right after UIL competition for band. So basically, as it says in here, April 8th, the contractor will get in there and start doing their work in this section here. So a lot of things happening in this part of the world for Clemens with the band hall as well as with the auxiliary gym area. So there's the schedule for the band hall. So it's really a two-phase completion. Just want to remind everybody that the first phase, First phase is around at August 1, and then finishing the final phase in October. So we want to be done with the main body of the band hall. Band can come in there. They're ready to go and start of school for August. That new addition will probably take about up to that October. So it'll be there ready to go. Questions on the band hall? Okay. So technology is moving forward on some of their projects as well. I'm going to just keep on going here. The monthly look ahead, network infrastructure. You can see there's the discussion will be coming up tonight with possible action in May, and that's the server storage and disaster recovery. The panel, phase 2 for the district retrofit and installation. We're looking at doing that with those 4 campuses in the summertime. That is up with the board today as well. And then that's the installation, and then the display panels, the actual purchase of the panels. So one's a solicitation for the service of installing, and the other is the actual equipment for that. So March and April to get those projects lined up and ready to go in the summertime. It's going to be a busy summer at SCUC again. Okay, so if there's no questions, and then I'm just going to move into here as well.
Wayne, we're literally touching every building except 3 or 4 or 5, right? Campuses?
Probably more like 3.
Okay, so just to kind of put that in perspective. Yeah.
With that meeting that we had the other day, I think we fell on one campus that is not being touched.
Yeah.
So, also at Clemens, we're also taking on the kitchen renovation phase. This is funded through the Child Nutrition. This will be a summer project of a multiple phase project. So the first phase will be going on this summer, and that's some equipment expansion to assist with the growth of that campus. So as you can see here, phase 1, demoing an existing staff dining area that was to the left of the kitchen. If you're in the cafeteria and you look to the kitchen, there's a little room to the left there. So we're grabbing that space and adding in some new coolers and freezers in there. There's some demo going on as well as some underslab. It's the ugly stuff, to be honest with you. Just to show you, there you go. It's a bunch of pipes and plumbing, and stuff's got to go somewhere. So that's what they're working on right now. That is ongoing as we have Clemens, we have band hall, and now we have kitchen going on there. So we're trying to tie all this up and have that for this summer for the phase 1. Mr. Mosley, phase 2, no schedule as of yet, correct? And then, as alluded to earlier, I put this slide in there. We talked about the utilization of 2013 bond savings, and to share with the board, the plan moving forward right now is to get an entry vestibule retrofit for the 3 sister campuses of Schertz, Sippel, Wiederstein. And that's to have that level 1 to where you have either a glass panel or a storefront, so to speak, to when somebody comes in, you have a barrier of some sort. So this will be glass storefront. Have that. It's kind of like what you see at Rose Garden, what you see at Clemens, what you see. You're going to be in a bubble, and then you're contained there till you're buzzed in. Depending on funding, we're looking also at the possibility of including Schlatter and Corbett. We have engaged with an architect at this time, and we're looking at design of what that would look like. We feel that this could be more than likely handled this summer. And moving forward with that. So that would be something that we'll follow our steps and bring the board up to speed as we go through this, as well as through the procurement of such. There any questions on this one? Okay. Then, in talking about the future, as Dr. Gibson alluded to too, also in possible realizing some savings and depending on how we finish out, planning for future bond savings, looking at trying to take on some of the other big ticket items, number one being HVAC, put on there some of the targeted area campuses there. Green Valley as well as Corbett has some work needs to be addressed, as well as where we are right here. We did Malish East. If we want to finish it up and do Malish West, we can. That's just a talking point there as well. Also, setting aside money for future land purchase for district use, and then addressing some roofing and then possibly other things. So I was just putting on there could be some safety components involved in there as well. So these are just the thoughts of the future planning. Nothing set in stone here. We'll be looking at this and coming back to the board, of course, following our steps and our processes there as well. And that is it for tonight. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them.
No real questions about what you just presented, but concerning the all the legislative action, what happens if they provide monies for hardening the schools? Y'all have plans for that?
Yes, sir. I have started a plan for that, and because it's of the safety and security nature, I could come back to this and we can talk about that in executive session, but there are some plans that I've started on the hardening part of the campuses as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions? Mr. Rivera, procurement of goods and services.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Gibson. This month we have several solicitations, beginning with the first one with Mr. Mosley, where we're applying the funds the board approved under our current EPP project. Mr. Mosley?
Yes, so the first solicitation we have is for our roofing projects. It's, again, part of the EPP that we funded earlier in the year. And so we broke the solicitation into two different projects, hopefully getting the maximum competition that we can and allow some other contractors to come in and help us with this. Estimated budget here is between $650 and $750, and then hoping to come back in April and award the project and the work to be completed this summer. Questions on that? Kick it to Dr. Burkholder.
Thank you. The next solicitation is for the display panels and mounts to support the audiovisual upgrades at Watts, Clemens, Green Valley, and Dobie campuses this summer. It's an estimated cost of $650,000 funded with Bond 2016 funds and plan to bring it back for action in April. Any questions? The next solicitation is for data center server storage, and this is to expand storage in our network operations center and also complete the disaster recovery site so that we have full failover from the NOC to disaster recovery. This includes design and installation services as well as equipment and parts. This is also funded with Bond 2016 funds, estimated cost of $300,000, and we plan to bring it back for action in May.
I got one question. How much storage are we running right now?
How much storage? Oh, Mr. Finley, I'll have to get back with you on that. A lot.
A lot. I'm sure it's in the terabytes.
A lot of terabytes, yes. But I can get that exact information for you.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So this is maybe I should have talked to Ed about this before. So this is sort of the backup, all the server storage.
The disaster recovery site, we have backup. We have backup
Yep.
storage, and we have backup at the DR site. This would be to full fail over of all the servers and all the user data, everything that we have in the network operations center. Right now, all we have is data backup.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is
To
the
all
backup
systems.
to the backup. To the backup.
Yes.
Something to the three levels.
Multiple levels.
Well, what you're talking about is if we lose the computers here, they'll automatically switch over to the backup, and we'll come back right back online. Nobody even notice it.
Well, they might notice a little bit,
Well,
but we'll get them back pretty quick.
Right. But you're you're going to have a switchover site, you have to have the same capacity at
Right.
your original site, or you can't
You
service
can't do it.
Right.
And they have to be the same. They have to be able to talk to each other.
They have to mirror each other.
Mirror each other, exactly. Yes,
Exactly.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Pruski?
Sorry. So this next one is for the furniture and equipment for the following ABC and F wings for band, culinary arts, and health occupations. This is for those areas I was talking about, the old auxiliary gym for the new spaces coming in there, as well as in the front two wings, or what are now in the middle now, A and B. So this was use of 2016 funds, and hopefully back in April.
Okay. The next one is for the kinder through fifth grade phonics program. As part of Tier 1 instruction for our kinder through fifth grade students, for teaching foundation literacy skills. We're actually looking at a district-wide phonics program. As we heard earlier, Schertz is found money on their own to purchase a phonics program, and 3 of our campuses have been able to do that. However, based on our new TEKS, we know that every campus needs access to a phonics program. So we're going out for an RFP for that, and we are looking for something that's comprehensive and systematic for phonics for our students. So this will be through instructional materials allotment funds and should be in the range of $300,000 to $400,000. The last one, there's no questions on that one, is for K4 English Language Arts reading instructional materials. As you know, we're bringing a few instructional materials to you tonight for review, but kinder through 4th grade, as they reviewed materials, they looked at several off-list items off the state adoption list, as we're able to do now that instructional materials allotment funds come to the district. We've been given that freedom back in 2011. The teacher votes indicated that there was some interest in selecting something off-list rather than from the state adopted list. And so this RFP is to provide the teachers the opportunity to consider that for purchase for K4 English Language Arts and Reading. As we do with all of our instructional materials, we would bring any final decisions back to the board for approval, hopefully in April.
Out of curiosity, the state has approved certain materials in this regard. Did the teachers feel like that those materials were just not adequate for our students or the student needs or the capabilities of our students, and they felt like these other materials were better suited?
I believe that is correct. Every teacher who teaches English Language Arts was given an opportunity to vote, and they had multiple opportunities to visit the publishers, review the materials, and the votes came out that they were interested in something off the state adoption list. I believe it's because the English Language Arts TEKS are changing quite significantly, and so things that we might have traditionally looked at are maybe not as popular.
Well, I'm happy that our teachers are doing that. I think the go outside the box sometimes provides that ability to be able to get those materials that our students need to fit their requirements that we have right now, and also the teachers' capability of teaching that, and also what our students need. So I'm really appreciative that they're looking outside of what the state has approved, because after all, we've got to find the right materials for our students, and the state doesn't always keep up. So I'm glad our teachers are out there doing that. That's a good mark for them, so I appreciate that.
Sure. We encourage them to look for materials that they felt they would really use and that would not sit on a shelf unused. It's a waste of funds. So.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm kind of curious. Do you find that it's a struggle to get consensus? I know that when I've been to the DIC and we're working on a calendar, sometimes there's an argument between, what one group wants and what another group wants. And I'm kind of curious, if you're looking across the district and everyone's looking at a lot of materials, how do you get them to go, hey, let's kind of narrow this down?
Right. So what we really have to do is we just went with the votes. And so when we looked at what was the top vote getter, it was off list. So I would not say that at this point we have consensus because everyone had a chance for their own vote to be heard. However, at the end of the day, when we counted them up, we landed on a material that was not, the highest vote did not go to one of the publishers that was on the list.
Right, and as far as like the program, like what I'm kind of also getting here to it is if a teacher didn't, if there was a group over here that didn't want that program, are they still going to? I guess what I'm trying to get at is I'm hoping that some won't go, oh, I didn't want that, so I don't want to use it. Will there be training? I mean, is that part of like the training to use and stuff? Is that part of it as well?
Yes, absolutely. And part of whatever contract we have with any publisher includes training of our teachers. So we've actually already looked at when in August when we come back and what opportunities we'll have over the summer to offer training so that they'll be more familiar with those materials. It's really hard to switch to new instructional materials, so we certainly offer that as much as we can.
Right, and I know also too, and I would think with the younger grades, not so much the technology portion of it. I know we can use some monies for that, but that probably is that not a want at that age?
I would say that at this point, it's not necessarily that it's not a want, but they understand that getting the materials in kids' hands, particularly when they're young, is really important. They want kids with books in hands. Not that technology is not used. It certainly is, and they appreciate that side of it too, but that's a big piece of it.
Any more questions? I do know as additional information that Amy had some questions she presented to Dr. Gibson. Dr. Edwards had some follow-up information, and so that information was sent to all of the Board of Trustees in your emails concerning the instructional materials. And so Amy had questions. I'll let her do her due diligence when she returns next meeting, but I think she had some questions about it.
Kovacs responded earlier today, and we sent it to the full board. That may be what you're referencing, but everybody got it.
Yes, I'm referencing it. I don't want to harp on that's Amy's sort of subject matter expert, so I'll let her ask the questions.
But those questions were in relation to going all the way up to 8th grade. This is K through 4, right?
And yes.
I believe most of her questions were about kinder through 4th.
Okay, I thought that they related to the upper grades as well.
They might have,
okay.
And the answers that I provided would be appropriate for both, but I think a lot of them were specifically for kinder through 4th.
Okay.
And later today we'll be bringing you a few items that were selected for review and discussion.
Okay, so that's later.
Okay. So just for clarification, all of these will be coming back in April except for the data center server storage, correct? Dr. Gibson, a discussion for the 2019-20 board meeting calendar.
Yeah, so we just distributed, or it's being distributed, and we'll send this out tomorrow. I know I heard Dee Dee and Dr. Edwards talking earlier today about the board calendar, and the reason it's important, we don't have to do this, but and I think in the context of that, it was advisory committees. It's good to get this out so that we know when board meetings are semi-set, because we have a lot of advisory committees and other things like that we need to get set around it. And we don't have to do this, but it generally helps in this time of the year. We usually bring you a draft, and unless someone sees a major reason to not do it the calendar this way, we try to approve it. Of course, the board has the option in the future to change a date, if something comes up, but we try to get it set in advance so everybody in the community knows when they are. Just a discussion item tonight. Dee Dee made you a nice color-coded calendar. Kick it around and let us know if you see anything, and otherwise we'll bring it back, I guess, next month or the month after for action. Okay. Any questions?
Let me just add, I know you said with the board have to do this. I think we probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago we started this. Cause this is a good practice because a lot of districts will schedule board meetings kind of on a political basis as who's going to be there, who's not going to be there.
Correct.
The board president just moves the meetings to another date because he wants to, he or she wants to, that kind of thing. So I think it's good this way, systematically, a year out. Everybody knows when the board meetings are going to be. If you can't make it, you can't make it. Do we have it written in policy? Because I don't know. There's a board operating procedure that if we need to change a date, we have to vote to change.
Well,
is
I
it
guess
kind of a consensus? Or
I don't know.
Do we know?
It's a good question. And so maybe our interpretation is that once the board votes on something, we always think the board needs to vote to undo an earlier vote. Or you're always safer if you do it that way. I don't know if there's anything in statute or policy. Generally speaking, though, we do want to get this set and try to live with it for some of the very reasons that you referenced.
Okay.
Well, if I remember, normally that's discretion would be left to the board president. If he feels like it needs to be moved, that he would have that discretion to move it. Like we have this one tonight, on Thursday night. So if something were to happen, I would think that we would at least leave that in the board president's hand. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's going to move it, or he or she's going to move it just just for no reason. There would be some reason why they would move it.
But we made the decision to put this one on this date a year ago.
Yeah,
just because we saw, and I think that helps. Everybody knows 11 months in advance that we're not going to come back the first Tuesday after spring break.
Right.
So to the extent that we can predict when's a better time, we try to go ahead and do it. And I hear what you're saying, and I know that what Mr. Emmons saying, unfortunately, in some districts is true. And there are those that would believe that if you change something at the last minute, even if there was a very valid reason for it, that they may perceive that there was some ulterior motive, and feel free to share that with all of their friends.
Because you never know, what we may get to a situation where we realize that we can have to move a board meeting because we literally wouldn't have a quorum.
Right.
So that's kind of where you leave that president's discretion to be able to move it for a couple of days or something like that if that were to happen. And then you could find that out, but that's one of the reasons why you would leave in the board president's discretion would be that if you knew that day was coming up and you weren't going to have a quorum, then that day just goes right away anyway.
Right. Good point.
So I think that's something we probably ought to consider. If we're going to put that in the operating procedures, we probably ought to have something like that in there that under extreme circumstances, the board president would have the discretion to move it.
We review the operating procedures once a year, right? So I would say just put that as a tag item to.
Right.
If something comes up in the meantime, we could probably deal with it, but just.
Okay. Okay. So it's already there. Okay. I thought it was. I thought it was. I just wasn't sure. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Paige Maloney, we have the budget amendment number 5.
Yes, thank you, President Westbrook, Dr. Gibson, members of the board. This is a preface to an action item that'll come later on this evening, where we're proposing to change the compensation manual to a set fee for all, or a set amount if we wanted to do a one-time payment for all employees. If we are to do that, and we are in the works of planning for that for May, we would need to amend the general operating and the child nutrition budget in all of the functions to have a clean transfer of the funds, kind of basically an in and out. We have realized savings in our budget due to exceeding our projections with the students, and some savings on the expenditure side as well. This budget amendment that we'll bring to you will be somewhere between $1.3 and $1.8 million, between a $750 to $1,000 payment out to all eligible employees. And that's outlined in the compensation booklet for what the eligibility is. So the budget amendment that would come back in April would be for that amount, and we're working with the service center to be able to do that. And we anticipate that if that is authorized in April, that we would be able to do that one-time payment for the eligible employees on the Friday before Memorial Day. It would be a separate pay date. It would be direct deposit, no checks, the way that we normally do our regular payroll, but it would be a separate pay date on that Friday before Memorial Day, May 24th, I believe.
So this is, I'm asking to speculate, but you make an educated guess. After this payout, how much, based on the students that we now have and what we've done in this budget with keeping it really lean, how much beyond the, what did you say, 1.3?
Between 1.3 and 1.8.
So how much, and I'm asking you to speculate, beyond that, do you think we would have after this is done?
Well, we've already done a couple of amendments, one for the EPP and then one for so total amendments. Let's say that we are going to give the $1,000, which we after 6 months, February, it looks very promising that we are going to be able to do that. The total, that'd be $4 million that we've taken from fund balance. I'm speculating that we could probably break even, if not add additional money to the fund balance. It's just going to have to watch it. We really expected, I'll tell you quite honestly, we expected the attendance to tank the day after spring break. It did not. So we actually got 25 additional students, and we have not seen that before. So if the next few weeks hold true, that's even going to, provide more revenue.
So we're saying right now,
Right.
break even, if not, maybe still
more.
have some left over after
maybe
those.
have additional money into the final amended fund balance. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Board consideration consists of page 35. Agenda items requiring board action are routinely brought to the Board of Trustees for discussion 1 month and brought back to the board for consideration and possible action at a later date, typically the following month. This item allows trustees an opportunity to consider which discussion items on this month's agenda may be eligible for board action under the consent agenda of a future meeting. Any item placed under the consent agenda may be pulled and voted on separately if requested by a board member. This time, is there anybody that would like to pull any of the discussion items for discussion for next, not place it on the consent agenda? Which ones do we have, Dr. Gibson? We have page 36.
Page 36, the solicitations, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, all 6 of them on there, and then the calendar that we just discussed and the budget amendment.
I'm sorry. The other thing is data center server storage is listed as a May return.
That was May.
Correct.
That's not on the page 36.
I guess if you indicate that it's eligible, when we get it done, we'll bring it back, but we'll put it on consent on that month. If you say, unless you say no, let's just wait more.
It's on page 36, so it's not.
Yeah, you're right.
So that would have to be stricken. We're going to bring it back to May. Is that correct?
Okay. May return or will return in May.
Will return in May.
Okay, yeah.
Correct.
So that one would. Well, I guess you could authorize it to come back on the consent agenda in May, is what we're saying.
Right. You can do that, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now, I haven't set that up. I think Amy may want to discuss some of the instructional materials, so just be prepared for that. I'm just
As is always the case, any
exactly
trustee can pull any items in and out of the meeting.
All right.
And before we move to consent agenda for this month, item B. Wait, I'm gonna try to do this like the way you would appreciate. Bravo 1 Echo. Did I do that right?
Yes, you did it, but I think he was in the military longer than I was.
Yeah. That's right? Okay, all right. So item B1E, we need to pull out a consent and have a quick discussion. There was some late breaking information today. Did I get the right one? Okay, I have a revised motion right here. We'll describe that after consent agenda if that's okay with everybody. We're pulling B1E.
Okay.
Mr. President, can we also pull item G?
So B1G will be pulled also.
Okay.
Any others for discussion? So we have an amended motion. Is that what you're passing out?
Well, yeah, do you want to go ahead and approve the rest of the consent?
Yes. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the consent agenda, excluding items C and G.
E and G? Echo?
C. I'm sorry, C and. I'm sorry, E and G. I said right. E and G.
I need a second.
Second.
So there's a motion to approve the consent agenda except for items B1 Echo and B1 Golf. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes.
So on the item, Matt, I'll set that up, and then we can let Mr. Inman introduce the is it golf? Really? Seriously? No.
Yes.
Golf. Wow. Has it always been that?
You don't confuse it with anything else.
Okay, I guess that's true. Okay, wow. But we suspected that the item on the control access control could have some late breaking information. Sure enough, it did happen today. But Matt, I'll let you briefly describe that. And we're still asking for a go ahead. It's just we had to kind of change the motion depending on or based on some information from today.
Yes, sir. This is our first. There's two items that we're considering Walker Engineering Incorporated for. The access control upgrade is one. They went through an RFP process. They're a number one ranked offerer. However, it is a family-owned private business, and the owner has asked their attorney to go through our AIA document with a fine-tooth comb because, unfortunately, some school districts have eaten their shorts, was his quote. So they are revising our attorney's recommended contract a lot. I went through half of it today with their attorney, and we haven't quite finished. We did emphasize that we want to move forward with them. We partner. We don't see them as an adversary, and I think they've been hurt a few times by some other districts. We want to partner with them, and if they perform well, they could get more business. They're a very large company. They do a lot of over $500 million annually in the state of Texas. However, with this recommended motion, if we're not able to come to an agreement for some reason, they, as a private company, they can wash their hands easily of business if they don't want to. We have an option to begin negotiating with the other ranked offers, number 2 and number 3, which are also capable companies. We'd rather go to number 1, as I told him. I told him we're going to be talking about this tonight. We have other options. We'd rather go with them. However, if not, we do have 2 other options and a consultant at Combs Consulting that will help us provide oversight with our alternate contractors.
Well, in the revised motion, Matt, what's the difference between the 2 numbers that are a part of the motion?
Well, in the revised motion, we're authorizing the superintendent to negotiate and execute the agreement with the contractor. And should the negotiation not result in an acceptable agreement, we further authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute an agreement with the remaining 2 contractors in order of ranking for a not to exceed amount of $196,000 and report the final negotiated amount to the board.
And the 196, pardon me, the 196 yes, came from where?
That is the number 2 ranked offers proposal.
So there's that big of a gap. So we want to still try to work on the other one, but if it breaks down, and was the 196 within the window of what we anticipated? You know,
it's higher.
Okay, so very close to our. Right.
It's higher than.
Right, but I'm just saying that, but it's not shockingly high. That
no, sir.
The other one is shockingly low. Okay.
No, sir, it's not. It's within reasonableness.
Okay.
It is. We would go with the next highest ranked offer if we can't come to agreement with Walker Engineering. If we can't come to an agreement with 360 Integrated, who would be the number 2 vendor, then we would go to number 3.
Okay. And so, trustees, you have the revised motion. I know that's a big, long motion, but that'll just help us kind of keep moving forward. And we apologize that we couldn't get it all finished today, but Mr. Rivera gave the reasons why we couldn't.
We would really like to get this work done this summer rather than try to put it out on the street again, so we don't have to wait another season.
We have a motion, or can somebody?
Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the proposal from Walker Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $107,270 for the Electronic Access Control System Upgrade Project at Wiederstein, Sipple, and Schertz Elementary School campuses as per solicitation 19-011 Charlie, and authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute the agreement with the contractor. Should the negotiation not result in an acceptable agreement, we further authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute an agreement with the remaining 2 contractors in order of ranking for a not to exceed amount of $196,000 and report the final negotiation amount to the board.
A second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? The one question was, maybe I was distracted, but have we done business with Walker?
No, we haven't, although our consultant at Combs Consulting knows them very well, and They have a very good reputation. The references came back very positive. They have not been a general contractor very often. This is one of their first outings in the world of general contracting with us. They're very capable. We just have a learning curve to get through with them, and working with a other governmental entity with taxpayer responsibilities and students and kids instead of a commercial enterprise.
Mr. President, how much of a reduction from the norm was that 107,000?
Our initial budget for the project was $200,000.
So they're at about roughly 53% of what we thought it was going to be. You're mentioning that they haven't done general contracting very often.
They're typically a subcontractor. They do that low voltage lighting themselves. In this case, they're cutting out, so to speak, the middleman. They're doing the work that they would have been hired to do by a general contractor to do it. So that's part of the reason why they can provide us a significant cost savings.
I'm just going to throw this out there. I'd be a little bit concerned the fact that they've lowballed us so much that they may be worried that they can't fulfill terms of contract on their side because that is so much lower than the norm as far as everybody else. I'm just wondering if they're concerned about being able to bring this price
could
again,
be that what the motion that's before the board is just to, if we determine that that's what's going on, then they can just let this go ahead and go to the other one without having to come back.
Yeah, that's a very common and that's a very astute concern. The bottom lowest three prices were in the $100,000 range, so they were right in the middle of the pack of the lowest three prices that we received. One of which we had to throw out because they didn't sign their proposal, unfortunately, or submit some of the other documents they're supposed to. But pricing is right where it should be.
So you said there were three that were around this particular price, and you threw the other two out? And
one was thrown out, but there's another one that's lower, the Securitas proposal. I believe it's closer to $83,000. However, didn't score as high because their experience. Perhaps they need more hand-holding, etc. We wanted to go to someone who is a proven performer in this particular area.
So what you're essentially saying is these prices are literally all over the place, pretty much.
The price is not unreasonably low. It's very reasonable.
That's a pretty wide margin on when we thought it was going to be 200,000. So
we did not expect some of those contractors to participate. This is Walker Engineering has not participated with us very often.
Okay. I guess I'm just voicing that concern there, and obviously y'all are having the same concern, so I'm sure y'all will keep an eye on that. So I just want to put that out there. I saw that and I said, I'm just going to ask the question. So, okay. I know y'all will keep an eye on it, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Now we have B1 Golf approving of the naming recommendations for the following areas located on or within the boundaries of a district campus: Steele High School Entrance Road and Steele High School Air Force Junior ROTC Wing. Gary Inman.
Yeah, so I'm just make this quick. I don't have any objection to either one of these, but I apologize for not being here at the last meeting where I think you guys probably talked about this in detail. My only concern was, for both of these, they began as one or more people presenting or requesting that a certain name be brought forward to name a facility or part of a facility or a road or whatnot after that individual person. And just somewhat concerned that then somehow transfers into naming the facility or part of a facility that then goes to a committee and whatnot. So we never actually got to vote yes or no on the names that were originally submitted, if that makes any sense. I mean, that's how both of these started. So it wasn't an initial request to name a facility. It was an initial request to name a facility after a particular person. We ultimately never really got around to that type of a vote. So I don't have any objection to either one of these. I just kind of want to make that comment. So when and if we ever go back and go through the naming facility policy, I guess we kind of need to flesh that out to some extent. I just had those comments and that was it.
We did have a naming committee meeting and we discussed it and we decided it'd be better to go back out and see what the entities wanted to name.
Right.
Yes, and I think we have 3 students from Steele in the very back. Is that correct? ROTC, they were part of the naming process, and I think they're here to see this through.
Well, let me. I'm going to just say I don't want to take too much time with this because our nights are long enough as it is. And I want to say I certainly have no issue with Chief Master Sergeant Johnson. He's a fine person, did a great job for us. And I've always believed in trusting the process. But it seems as the process got a little skewed in this case, as Mr. Emden has pointed out. Hence, again, a proposed naming policy that, in my opinion only, I'm sure, has gotten pretty ridiculous. It was proposed, hasn't been acted on yet, thank goodness. But it was intended to do one thing, as far as I'm concerned. Again, in my opinion, the proposed naming policy. And originally there were two names put forth for these two areas. In fact, no one had ever brought up this before about naming these two areas until the two original names were brought up. First name for the entry was brought forth, I believe, in the fall of 2017, 2018. And that's over a year and a half ago. The first name for the ROTC facility was brought up, I think, about 6 months ago, if not longer. I forget, I lose track sometimes. And both of these names seem to have been lost in the shuffle. None of them were ever acted on. And in this case, with both these names, a lot of history is being passed over, in my opinion. And I've tried to stay out of this discussion as much as possible for one very good reason. But that doesn't seem to be a reason to worry about that now. And I could say I'm disappointed in some people about this, but that's neither here nor there. And I won't use the overused and abused axiom, it is what it is. But I will say this, it is what we allow it to be. Thank
you. So there's 3 students in back, so I will tell you this, let this sort of be a lesson to you. As board president, part of this is sort of a mea culpa. This falls on me. The process did start roughly about a year and a half ago. And I will tell you there were some differences between policy and politics, and both of them got mixed up. That's the way the sausage is made sometime, and it wasn't ugly, and mistakes were made. And Gary Inman and David Pivotal are right. Not necessarily the policies that were in place at the time when the naming requests were made were followed and adhered to, partly because of politics. That's my bad. We'll move forward. This is what we're voting on tonight. There were some mistakes made, but we got to move forward. So.
Well, not Mr. Westbrook. I'll just say that the staff stands ready to help facilitate whatever direction the board wants to go, as we did in the last 18 months.
No, we're voting here on this tonight.
No,
I get that
what
one.
I'm saying. I'm saying moving forward, staff is ready. I just want to be real clear. It sounds almost like the staff messed up in this process with what you just said.
No.
I wouldn't say that.
I know that's just.
No, I never said that.
That was not.
I know. I'm not.
That was not my intent.
I don't want anybody to misinterpret that. That's
No.
all I'm saying. So we are ready to work with the board on this moving forward, as we did for the last 18 months.
I don't have an issue with anything the staff has done. I just put that out there.
Neither do I. Mea culpa is my fault. So my fault means it wasn't anybody else's. It was mine in the implementation of the policies that were adhered to at the time. It had nothing to do with your staff. It was policies and politics, and I got caught up in it. Let's vote on this tonight. Can I get a motion? It's on page
86. Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the following naming recommendations for areas located on or within the boundaries of Byron P. Steele II High School as submitted by the Board Subcommittee. Byron P. Steele II High School entrance road name be Knight Way, and Byron P. Steele II High School JROTC wing name Chief Master Sergeant Joseph Johnson.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. President, so now that we have actually voted, which I think is good, I do want to say none of my comments were meant to be that it's your fault either. Quite honestly, this is an incredibly tough topic. It shouldn't be, but it is. And for those of you that have been on the board for a while, this isn't the first time it's a tough topic. And I don't think you can write a policy that's perfect. When we named Byron Steele High School, there was a lot involved back then. I mean, the school just seems to have had that. But it's a tough topic. I don't think anybody did anything wrong here or had any wrong motives per se. It's just tough to get to the finish line. So, Mr. President, I don't think there's anything you did or didn't do right, and certainly the staff. It's just no matter how you write that policy, there's things that pop up as you go through the process.
And I appreciate the clarification that you just made, that y'all just made.
I've been here a long time, as most of you know, and I've seen a lot of the naming of these facilities. I mean, a lot of them, most of them. And I could tell you stories about how and why they got named what they were named. And some of the stories might scare you a little bit because, as Mr. Westbrook pointed out, there was a lot of politics involved in most of them. So I shouldn't say most of them, in several of them. Anyway, time to move on.
Next, Kelly Kovacs request for board approval instructional materials under Proclamation 2019.
And Ms. Kovacs, we're moving to page 111 in the board book.
Right, so last month we brought forward for discussion the process and the committee of teachers that were selected by their campus for Proclamation 2019. Tonight we're bringing you selected publishers based on teacher votes. Those are in your board book as mentioned. Also, as mentioned last month, all teachers who teach these courses or could be slated to next year have an opportunity to vote. So the publishers we're bringing to you tonight are for kinder through 4th grade, Spanish language arts and reading. That's McGraw-Hill, had the highest number of votes. Kinder through 5th grade handwriting was Learning Without Tears. That's for English and Spanish. 5th through 8th grade English language arts and reading. The selection was for Pearson. And personal financial literacy selection was Ramsey Education. As noted earlier in this meeting, we do have a few selections which have not been made yet, which we're going to RFP for, which we hope to finalize and bring to you next month.
So this is what all the emails, I guess, the back and forth, the conversations, and I just kind of want to throw out there, I think many of us having seen several of these adoptions, and we know that with the textbooks, like what has happened with them, I do believe that we get better and better with each process. I know with Amy and myself and a few others, we always want that, we really truly want this to come from the bottom where the teachers are deciding and the teachers are saying, this is how my kids are going to use it. And I think that's why we're getting to what we're getting. Also, the amount of money we spend, it is true that we have purchased books and that they sit. And so we want to make sure we're buying something that the teachers want to use. And that's, I think, part of my question before was, are we, did they opt to do some digital books with this? So, I saw RFP on some of this. I saw that we're doing certain publishers, but I don't know specifically what we're buying.
Oh, right. So, we just had this a couple of days ago. The selection committee from this selection was for the publishers only in terms of what items they're going to actually purchase, if it's a digital or a book in their hands or trade books for discussions. That is still being worked on currently.
Okay.
So currently all we have is publishers, and now they're looking at what packages are available and.
Will the different grades get to decide on different packages? Because I could definitely see the high school definitely going more digital, whereas maybe the middle school might want a book. I don't know. Is that Ms. Crow back there? So, yeah, I was just curious. Middle school would probably want something different than the high school as far as a book, consumable. I'm just asking the question in general. Okay, no, and that's exactly what I want to hear. I want to hear that this has been thought through. And like I said, we just want to know that this is really getting down to the level where someone's going, this is how the kids are going to use it. This is what we want. And as I noted before, consensus, I'm sure, is probably difficult.
It is difficult, and we're doing the best we can with our committees. But it's a back and forth. We've spent hours talking about it just the other day because we want to make sure that it's something that's actually being utilized, whether it's digital or not.
Okay, thanks.
Do I have a motion? 111.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the recommendations for instructional materials that support the grade levels and courses included in Proclamation 2019, starting in the 2019-2020 school year as presented.
A second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Next, we will have Linda Cannon and Paige Maloney request for board approval amendment to employee compensation packet school year 2018-2019.
Yes, we brought this to you as a discussion item in February, but we're requesting to amend the compensation package that applies to the one-time lump sum payment to read as equal to a determined set amount to eligible district employees on the payout of the one-time lump sum.
Do I have a motion?
We overworded it.
We definitely overworded it.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the amendment to the employee compensation package for school year 2018-2019 as presented.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next, we will have Dr. Carla Burkholder and Matt Rivera request for board approval, audiovisual system upgrade project.
Mr. President, we have a handout for this.
Was the handout made by Dr. Edwards or Kovacs, or what are we talking about? I just need to know the level of.
What's this with a handout?
It's a question sheet.
What is this with a handout? I'm not ready for this, Matt. Come on.
Yeah.
So this is for the installation of the audiovisual system upgrades at Clemens, Watts, Green Valley, and Dobie, including demolition, infrastructure, electrical, drywall, everything that's needed for the installation.
And the reason why we're giving a handout is because this is with that same company, Walker Engineering Incorporated, and we needed to revise the recommended motion to give us an alternative to a negotiated agreement in case we can't come to an agreement with Walker. And that would be to use a job order contractor for a not to exceed amount of $700,000 as written in the recommendation. Walker Engineering knows we have an alternative. We spoke about that this afternoon. We don't want to go there if we don't have to. We went through this process to try new things. Job order contractors have done the last two installations over the last 2 years. We wanted to do a different route this year. We prefer to go with them. However, if we can't come to an agreement, we still can have a tool to get this done before school starts, which is our purpose.
I need a motion before we can discuss. Motion.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the proposal from Walker Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $654,956.31 for the audiovisual system upgrade project as per solicitation 19-01 Charlie, and authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute the agreement with the contractor. Should the negotiation not result in acceptable agreement, we further authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute an agreement using a job order contract for not to exceed amount of $700,000
and report the negotiated amount to the board.
Is there a second? It's been a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So this is just a follow-on from the previous discussion, right, for the same
The
reasons?
same company.
Same reasons?
The same company. Our attorney reviewed both motions and both rationales behind. He says, you've got all your bid laws covered, so this is, it is what it is at the moment.
Okay. So their heartburn basically just to make sure that they don't take on more than they can chew, or that they're not going to get bit.
The contract is written to protect the owner, the taxpayer, the students, and the parents of our community.
Right.
It's not written necessarily to protect the contractor as much.
Right.
That's what they're.
That's their heartburn. Okay. Okay, thank you.
That's referring to the, so on the supplemental document, 25 vendors were notified, 20 vendors downloaded, and solicitation documents, and 1 response was received. The 1 response was from Walker?
Yes, sir.
So who would we negotiate with outside of
Just buying off the job order contract.
just a jock?
Yes, sir. We would use a job order contractor. There are several job order contractors in the area we could approach using one of their board-approved purchasing co-ops.
With that not to exceed amount.
With that not to exceed amount.
Okay, I've got a further question, sorry. I did not know that so 25 download, 25 express interest, 20 downloaded, and 1 returned? Walker returned a actual bid.
They returned a proposal.
Proposal.
Yes,
So we had 20 downloaded and 19 declined. Did we reach out to any of the 19 to find out why they declined to issue to put in a bid?
Yes, sir.
I mean, 95% of your people that downloaded said, we're not even going to look at you. That's interesting.
Yes, sir.
That almost has to beg the question, why? Why there? I can see if you only had 2 or 3 or 4, but 95% of the people that downloaded said, we're not interested?
Yes, I believe, and this is what the word was used before, speculation was because of the compressed schedule that we were wanting this done in the summer and not during the school times. And as you know, our summer is very compressed already. So once they downloaded these and they saw the number of schools and for the installation to take place and be done by the time students came back, that was one of the comments I received.
So we had 19 thinking they couldn't get it done in a compressed schedule, and 1 who's now looking at our contract and taking a fine-tooth comb to it is the only one who came back. That's a lot of complications.
Their
It
pricing
really
was
is.
their pricing was right in line with our independent cost estimate from our consultant, so their price is fair and reasonable that they're offering. We needed to do perhaps more to get more competition involved. Some of our neighboring districts have had to go out of the San Antonio area to find more competition. A lot of subcontractors are building all over the city of San Antonio. We're having to go to the Gulf Coast, to the coast to find contractors to come here to bid. We didn't do that. We were a bit asleep on the wheel on that. We could get more competition. Just going out to personally make some more phone calls instead of relying on newspapers, plan rooms, and internet searches. So we can do that if we go forward and continue to do this through our district to try and get more competition. We don't like having one. We knew it was a fair and reasonable price based upon our independent cost estimate and the cost estimates that we've had historically from our job order contractors. That's right in line with that too. It's a fair price, but we'd rather have more competition.
Right, I would
We
too.
understand.
There's a lot of reasons why a contractor's not going to want to go ahead and propose, because like Wayne says, you have compressed time. This is not a new project. You're going into an old building, an older building. You're having to do a lot of things that you may not be comfortable doing. You don't know what getting into the cost of those kinds of things. Some other people are more comfortable. If you've been a subcontractor, you may be a little more comfortable doing that as a general contractor and just, again, cutting out the middleman and doing some other things. You know, you look at a proposal, doesn't mean anything. Almost, well, that's the price of doing business out there. That's what you do, whether you're a drywall person, just a general construction person, where you know, building trade, whatever. There's a lot of reasons why they don't want to do it. And again, I suspect, again, it's time, and it's also the facilities. They just don't want to get into them.
We feel pretty fortunate that we got the one. I guess we're asking the board to let us go ahead and try to thread this needle. I think we learned enough through this process that you won't see a pattern of this, Mr. Finley, moving forward.
No, yeah, I realize that. I'm just throwing it out there because normally in the past, we've thrown this even in our existing buildings before, we've had more than one person to come back. So I'm just surprised that on this one particular one, we only had one come back, because we've had work done in existing buildings before, similar work like this, and this time we only had one come back. And we've had summer projects before, and this time only had one come back when 19 others said, no, we're not going to. So the idea that we haven't had compressed time frames before, that we haven't had this kind of work done before the existing buildings, that doesn't wash. We've had these before, and yet this time, one time, we've had 20 downloads and one person come back. I'm going to support this and go for it. I'm just laying it out there. That's the concern going forward. And Mr. Rivera's always said they're going to continue to look at that. So I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just surprised.
And just for clarification, and Matt, you can correct me, the downloads don't necessarily mean they were a contractor. It could have been a sub or somebody interested as to what the supply was going to be, what parts were going to be needed as well. So, plan rooms. So it necessarily doesn't have to be a contractor that downloads these things.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure I said that too.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, I'll say my piece. So thank you.
Just as a follow-up, so is Walker Engineering actually doing the work, or are they acting as a general contractor in this situation?
They're performing as a general contractor.
Okay.
They'll be actually performing the work as well.
Okay, so they're doing
They're going to do the whole thing.
Total work, all the work by itself.
Themselves, yes.
For some reason, it doesn't pan out with them. Now we have to go to a job order contractor. Job order contracting, that's another 5 to 10% cost, huh? I mean, because they're going to subcontract, right? I mean, the job order contractors generally not going to do the work themselves.
They subcontract some of the work, and some of the work they do themselves with their in-house staff, depending on the job order contractor. And their fees range from like less than a percentage up to 18%, depending on the job order contractor and which contractor we use. We would find one or receive a proposal from one that is aligned with our budget, so it'll be less than that $700,000.
So anywhere from 1 to 18% extra cost if we don't get it done with Walker. The one other question I have is on the supplemental document you have. It says the purchase of flat panel displays, Apple TVs, and mounts will be issued in a separate solicitation. Due to all the EPPs, and are we talking about a separate? Later on, we're going to have to come to this one. So
that's the equipment's out on the street right now, and it'll be coming back to the April board meeting. It's scheduled to be here for approval in April.
So if Walker Engineering sets it all up, if we approve it tonight, doesn't that essentially mean we almost have to approve the flat panels and the flat panel displays and Apple TVs? I mean, why would you install everything and not purchase the stuff to go with it? I mean,
Why are they on two separate applications?
One is to provide the equipment, and one is to provide the installation for the equipment. Where it's a cost savings necessarily, we don't have to add 10 to 15% for a contractor to buy the equipment and add his overhead and markup onto something that we can just buy and have delivered ourselves.
Westbrook is correct. I mean, they go together, so you're essentially, you're approving both. I mean, we have to go through the formality of separate.
Yeah,
motions,
we have to
but
approve both.
It's like the wing renovations at Clemens. We do all this work for the classrooms, and then we buy the stuff on the FF&E item that you had before on the solicitation as well. So now we're coming in, rather than lumping it all in, we're buying it separately to try to have a better value for the tax. That's it.
No, I understand. The point is just they might as well have been on the same agenda. We have to approve, if we approve one,
Right,
we
I
have to
just don't
approve
know
the
if we
other.
had the processes perfectly aligned and we need to get the ball rolling. Is that fair to say?
I think that's a very fair appraisal, sir. They just missed each other. Bringing this to you tonight was like walking on glass that's been cut. I did not want to bring that to you, but I know that if we didn't bring it to you tonight for your consideration, the project wouldn't.
No, fair enough.
happen this
I
summer.
understand. It was just, thank you very much. All, the motion's been made. Second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Congratulations, Mr. Rivera. Request for board approval presented by Kim Williams, shared services agreement with San Antonio Independent School District Regional Day School Program for the Deaf.
Good evening. As we discussed in the last month's board meeting, our district, thank you. We have been a member of a shared services arrangement to provide services for certain students who have auditory impairments. That our service arrangement previously was through Region 20, and that has now been dissolved. This is seeking approval to join the San Antonio ISD shared services arrangement to provide those services for our students with those needs.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the district's membership with San Antonio ISD through a shared services agreement, which will provide educational services to students from 0 through age 21 years of age who meet the condition of auditory impaired and who are placed in the RD-SPID by the Admission, Review, and Dismissal, or ARD Committee. The SAISD RD-SPD SSA shall be governed by the Management Board, Special Education Directors of member ELAs, and directly administered by the Fiscal District Agent of San Antonio ISD.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Just one other question. What was the alternative to this?
There were other options for around nearby districts. This one was the closest to the home of the student who will be accessing those services.
Thank you. All those in, if there's no more discussion, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. We will now, let's go on. Well, we're going to go into closed session as soon as I can find some documents. The board is now adjourned into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.074, authorization to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. The time is now 9:23. We have about 15, 20 minutes worth of items to discuss. We are now reconvened. Time is now 9:58. Let's close. Request for board action, employment of contractual personnel presented by Linda Cannon.
Yes, the positions on the employment list as presented in closed session are replacing positions for the 18-19 school year and will be funded from the 18-19 general operating budget.
Can I get a motion? 149.
I move the Board of Trustees approve the employment list of contractual personnel for the 18-19 school year as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Request for board action, consideration of personnel, personnel term contract recommendations for school year 2019-2020, presented by Linda Cannon.
Yes, we're requesting approval of the term contracts for the 1920 school year, and will be funded from the 1920 general operating budget.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the list of term personnel for the 2019-2020 school year as presented.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those, thank you. Motion passes. A request for board action, proposed termination of a probationary contract for certified teacher at the end of 2018-2019 contract term, presented by Linda Cannon.
Yes, we have a proposed termination of a probationary contract for a certified teacher, and asking for you to accept the recommendation of the superintendent as discussed in closed session.
Mr. President, move the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the superintendent to terminate the probationary contract for Kirsten Cabal at the end of the 18-19 contract term.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second by Jerry. I'm sorry. Although, is there any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Jerry Perkins, review of board agenda, planning calendar, and request for future discussion and action items.
We're revisiting the Capitol with great conversations team Thursday, March 28th from 10 to 2. Right now, Tisha and David are signed up. I'm checking my schedule. CIS has a Rock and Roll for Kids event Saturday, March 30th from 6 to 10. We saw an invite to join a table, and I believe those that were going to have already made their decision.
But there are a couple, if someone, there's some flexibility on a couple if someone wanted.
Right.
Let me know. I have other ways to get in the building, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. And I took a couple of those seats, but I'm also got ways to get in the building too.
If you change your mind, let Jerry and I know.
Right, because I'll go in a different stick. Texas Tri-County Chamber Luncheon Tuesday, April 8th at 11:30. Northeast Partnership Chamber Luncheon Thursday, April 11th at 11:30. The Chamber Church Cibolo Selma Luncheon Tuesday, April 16th. And we have a board meeting also on Tuesday, April 16th.
Any future agenda items anybody wants to place on the agenda? I will let Priscilla know here. I don't know if I might try to attend the Cibolo Valley high-level rounding. That's Monday, right? The 25th of March. I just thought I'd let you know. I'll probably forget. I don't know. I'll send you an email on the 26th that I'm going to try to attend on the 25th.
25th at 3:30?
Yes. If there's there's nothing more, we stand adjourned 10 o'clock, 10:03.
Hey,
Page